but each shot.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Ready to go?
Yeah, always.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Hey guys.
Hey.
Coleman Briscoe.
That is I, yeah.
Piersee, it's good to meet you.
Yeah,
You don't even know his first name. Joke's on you.
Joke's on you.
What is your Josiah, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Stalker, I bet you looked that up. Didn't
Yeah,
you?
you
Yeah,
probably
you did.
you probably
Look at you
Facebook
doing your
me.
homework.
Oh, it's good to fucking see you.
That's a shocker. You doing your homework, huh?
Congrats on the mohawk.
Thanks.
I'm glad that every time you come down here,
So-
you have the mohawk.
Honestly, man, like, I'm definitely gonna like do it shorter. So like,
No, it looks great.
So no, I'm gonna do it shorter this way, and then do less next time because I've always done just pretty much this. And a problem that we ran into yesterday with like some of the boys is I tried to get some like got to be glued stuff, right? And I tried spraying it in, and I was like trying to like straighten it out, but I forgot like I have curly ass fucking hair, and it's like. It's fucking impossible to like straighten this shit up, dude. So I was sitting there constantly trying to spray it in a never-ending futile effort, and yeah, so I'm probably gonna buy a straightener and try it out. But I don't know, it's pretty cool. I like to do it. I've been known for it. Hell, I went, most of my life with that thing. So
Right.
I mean,
Well, even when you're doing like the rendezvous stuff with the red tone, right?
yeah, the rendezvous stuff. Oh boy.
Fucking mohawk.
Yeah, so rendezvous, just to give like a little bit of idea of that. It's like pre-1840 reenactments, right? And if we would have talked about that, I would have brought the pants. But so pretty much it's like pre-1840 reenactment.
Well, I think you should describe the pants a little
Oh
bit.
my
You know?
God. Okay, so the pants are deerskin legging pants that me and my dad put together. They have like frill on the sides and stuff. Like
You sound so sad when you
stuff.
describe it. You're like, eh.
No, because I'm building them down, so whenever they're seen, they're just like in nothing but awe.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
so that's how it works, right? It's how so. But pretty much, basically, it's just like the one that I go to. It's in Raton. It's called the Santa Fe Trail Rendezvous. There's plenty of others all around, and yeah, perfect. Santa Fe Trail Rendezvous. I know some of those people in those pictures, and if you scroll enough, I guarantee you'll see pictures
Shout
of
out to
them.
Joey on the computer.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So it's great. I've met a lot of great people there, and I think the best part about it is you get to choose what you want to do. There's some people that go out there, and you can go out there and shoot black powder. You can go out there and throw knives and tomahawks. You can go out there and just vibe, and you can. No, that's not me.
I think that's
No, I'm gonna be. You're gonna have to look like.
I mean, that last picture is pretty close.
Yeah. So.
Hey, try to speak into the mic, because if you speak outwards, it'll echo.
Oh, okay, sorry. But yeah. So what's interesting is I've met a lot of cool people there, as well as just made a lot of cool friends. Like the nice thing about that is just being there at the rendezvous, and everyone's there for pretty much the same thing. And you can. One of the funnest things that I love doing, because it's a week-long thing, and there's no cell phone service there.
Right.
So you're completely detached, and you're constantly going through, and during the day, you're not supposed to, or you're not allowed to show anything that's past 1840, right? So people like hide their coolers and stuff by like, normally what me and my dad do is we have like a chest, and we have a chest that hides our coolers and stuff, right? And because it's all supposed to be pre-1840, like obviously we're not, completely living it off the
So
fly.
you have like the old school U.S. Marshals looking for fucking coolers, iPhones.
No,
They're walking around like bow-legged, like, hey, is that a cooler over there? Like,
So funny how you
stand
say that.
down.
So basically, there is some sort of structure to this because it's not obviously just hey, like we're just gonna go camping and stuff, right? Well, basically, there's what's called the bourgeois in Secundo. Bourgeois is basically the guy in charge, and my dad was it for 1 year, and I sadly wasn't able to make it down because of where I work and
Was
whatnot.
he disappointed? Was he like...
Oh yeah, highly. Because the nice thing is about me doing this, and because just everything about it is that, like, if I wanted to, I could like go there and like volunteer to be bourgeois or whatever, and like run one. And my intent is eventually down the road to do that, because you have your bourgeois and then Segundo, which is Segundo is basically just like next guy in charge. And then
The Tonto to the Lone Ranger.
yeah, pretty much. And then, but below that, you have what you call your dog soldiers. And dog soldiers are people that we'd identify them with a red little wrap around their arm, and that's it. Which is, Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I know what other people are thinking too. And
but
it's a subtle, I know. And, but it's great. Yeah. So that's how we identify us, and it's usually the people that are like the veterans, people that understand it and whatnot. And then and the nice thing is about the Santa Fe Trail Rendezvous is it's not like nationals, right? Nationals is usually held up in Colorado. And nationals are super strict about that stuff, right? Like there's no vehicles within the camp after the first day, so on and so forth. Like you have to literally ruck everything in there or like carry it in there, whatever have you, to get your stuff in there after the set time because it's completely period from then on. So I say ours, but the Santa Fe Trail Rendezvous is more of like a learning one where they're more flexible about stuff because it's a very individual community. Not a lot of people know about it.
Right.
But without delving too much into it, because I don't want to, just bore you guys and make you guys go to sleep.
This is why we're here.
Yeah.
Time.
But yeah,
hanging out.
still, what I love about it is that you get all these people from literally around the world with all different stories and stuff. I talked to some veterans and stuff with some phenomenal stories. I've talked to some people that I'll never forget. If he ever hears it, shout out to Rebel Steve. What a guy. What a
Rebel
guy.
Steve.
Rebel Steve, what a guy. Yeah, so, my God.
Wait, side note. What makes Rebel Steve so amazing?
He's such an idiosyncratic man, dude. Like, I met this dude by him waddling over to our camp, and he's just like, you guys have any liquor? And we just sat there talking to him for like 4 or 5 hours straight, right outside my teepee. And we just sat and drank.
The one that people broke into at one point, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So let me, before we get into how my teepee was broken into, what I will say is it's really cool because one of the best things that I love doing with rendezvous is how welcoming everybody is. And what you do is, and what some people actually do is that they come there with like just a backpack, pretty much. And they go around to the other camps and they're like, hey, can I stay with you for the night? And then I stay with somebody else. And they're just bouncing around. And it's so cool because you can just go to all these different people. There's a great group of people that come from Texas up to the Santa Fe Trail Rendezvous, and I'm good friends with them. I like message them every now and then and whatnot. And it's just really cool. You can choose if like, hey, I want to do this shoot, go ahead and go do it. Pretty much everyone wakes up pretty much at 8 a.m. at the first shoot because people start shooting at that point. But you just go out there, hang out, have a good time. You're away from electronics. You learn new skills. Like we like to do classes like with kids of like how to like do like fire making with flint and steel. We like to go out and do stuff, and not only that, there's a lot of traders too. Like I know my dad makes a lot of stuff like leather work, and he does some blacksmithing stuff. He dabbles in that. But there's some people that's all they do. This is all they do. They just bounce around to these rendezvous sites, and they're doing this, and this is their full-time job. And it's very interesting, yeah, because it's a lot of hidden things. Like, and then the last thing I will say about it is one of the cool things too is that some of the events you do, like the Mountain Man Run, is like an overall competition. So it's like you're timed and you have to like set a bear trap or like set this trap in a certain time. And then this is the rattling, sorry. Didn't mean to spook you.
I'm making sure our levels are okay.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's pretty cool because you have to like set it in time and you learn a lot of like tricks of like how to set it. And then you like, and for speed, and then you have to run up and set your own targets up, shoot them down, stuff like that.
Did you ever compete in any of these Mountain Man?
I've done it before.
Did you win?
I sadly did not because some kind of malfunction. I think my ramrod broke, and I wasn't able to actually shoot my last round or something.
So you're shooting muzzle loaders?
Okay. Muzzle loaders, yeah, and you're all timed and stuff. So for speed, some things you do is like one thing that I did for speed is instead of pulling out another thing to measure my powder, I would measure like 50 grains of black powder, and I'd pour it into my hand and see what it looked like, and then put it away, and then measure and pour. And then eventually I got to the point where I know that this dimple in my hand is 50 grains, and I would just pour there, slam it down, and then just send it. And for speed, for the whole purpose of speed. And you do that, and it's like a whole culminating event pretty much, and whoever has the fastest time wins.
Yeah, see what blew my mind was I remember, it was like 2 years ago, we went to shoot with them, right? Yeah, 2 years ago, so we went to go shoot with you. And that was my first time firing a muzzle loader.
Yeah.
And no kick.
So it's all about how much. The nice thing about.
Well, so how much black powder did you put in that time? Do you remember?
So you guys, I only put like 30 grains.
Okay.
And which is usually like the fresh.
Yeah, because I remember going.
Yeah, so it's like
That's
next
it.
to nothing, right? And
Yeah.
it also depends on like what type you're shooting, right? And like a shotgun is usually like 2F, 3F, and it depends on the type of black powder that it is. Because like 1F is really like coarse, 2F is less as coarse, and like 4F is super fine. And the only time that you're going to deal with 4F is like when you're dealing with flintlocks and stuff. But yeah, so you adjust it accordingly. Like obviously kids, they're going to use as light a load, but I like to shoot really long distances, and that's what I'm known for, is shooting long distances and whatnot. And I use 100 grains of black powder. And for reference, what it looks like, I have a picture of this too. I wish I had it so we can pull up. But I start shooting like this, and by the time the full recoil takes in effect, I'm back like this. Like that's how much it kicks me back. I literally have to lean into the rifle, and because it kicks so goddamn hard. Like I've been bruised after sometimes in the range just because. But the reason I use that much powder is because the more powder, the more
power you go.
yeah, more power behind my ball and stuff. And not only that, but we're using round balls too, because it's all period. So you're using round balls too, and I'm shooting like 100 yards plus, and it gets really annoying pretty quick.
So how long does a Santa Fe trail runner last?
It's a week. It's a week long, and it's usually the second week in July.
Nice. That's fucking southern. Up in Raton, New Mexico.
Yeah, up in good old Raton, New Mexico, and it's sponsored by the NRA Whittington Center. And surprisingly, one thing I didn't know until
Also, a branch of the NRA, actually.
yeah, that's what they use. They use the NRA Whittington Center. Yeah, that's a gun range up there.
And that's where we went to go shoot, right?
Yeah, we went to go shoot there this last time. And all other times. And I worked there, and it's really interesting to be like 13 years old and being having bullets whiz over your head. But that's
Shout out to Chicago.
so that's literally something that I like had, and all I would do literally for pay is I would just wait. They would call us out once they cleared the line. I would run out there and spray paint, and then run back in.
Hey, that's not period,
Well, no, this isn't period because this is my job. Like this is what I did. I worked like 80-hour weeks or whatever.
You worked at the actual NRA.
Yeah, I worked. And so
that's a good segue into how did your fucking TP get broken into?
yeah, I know. Sorry,
fucking love that story.
sorry. Anyway, thanks. You got to keep me on track. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff. So
We're gonna get sidetracked, I guarantee it. Like,
yeah, between me and him, trust me, between me and him, there's gonna be so many open-ended questions at
I
the end of
know.
this. Like,
well, I already told him.
shout out to the viewers because they're gonna be so lost.
I
Like,
already told him coming into this. I was like, my one goal is to sidetrack you on all your stories. So then when we do the second segment, hopefully, maybe, I don't know,
yeah.
he
Anyway,
finishes those stories, but we'll see.
finishes. There's never an ending. So, anywho, yeah. So I worked there and rendezvous for 1 week, and it's just like all going. And some people show up late, some people whatever, and it's just a cool experience. A lot of people don't know about it, and especially like my age group, like our age group actually, like all of us. You don't see anybody like in our age group around there and it's surprising to me because it's like you're telling me that you can't go up to like a 21 to like 35-year-old people and be like, hey, you come out here for a week and you party and you get free liquor. Are you telling me that they're going to say no?
Yes, and here's why. You're taking away their phone.
Yeah.
That is why. People would rather go sober than lose their phone.
And that's
guaranteed.
And that's
It's sad.
Yeah,
no,
no,
it's sad as shit, but it's the truth.
Yeah, no, I mean you're not wrong. But I mean I obviously was to lead into the TP breaking in story because I know everybody wants into this. All right. Yes. So I took the TP that we had. It was an 18-footer, which is 18 foot in diameter, and so it was big enough that I eventually got a job at the state park. I worked in the state park for some time after NIMI. So myself and all these people went to NIMI, except for him. Yeah. We went to NIMI and MMI, whatever, New Mexico Military Institute, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. And after in all actuality, I technically flunked out my college, but I graduated high school, class of 1. Yeah, class of 1, class clown, valedictorian. Everything, star athlete, everything.
I was gonna say, can you actually put that on your resume that you're valedictorian?
Who's to say I can't? I'm class of 1. I literally got to choose my date of graduation.
So what's the backstory behind that? Fill that in.
For what? For my graduation?
Yeah, why you graduated like what?
Because
August,
so
right?
since
Or
it was like
freshman
August
college,
11th
sophomore?
or August 12th or something like that, and so basically what happened is I went down there to Roswell. my junior year, and that's when I met this guy. What a guy! And I went down there because Rat Tone was not the best. And as everybody knows, I mean, you can look it up. New Mexico's not the best for schooling at all.
We're actually 50th.
Yeah, we have 50th, right? Yeah,
We're now 50th in education.
Yeah, and but we're number one. Hey, you can look this up too. We are number one for suicides. Side caveat.
No way.
New Mexico's
no
highest
way.
for suicides. Look it up.
There's no way. Like,
yeah, wait.
Does it beat out Alaska?
Yeah, it beats out Alaska. Yeah, it beats out Alaska. Yeah.
No way.
Dude, Alaskan people are resilient.
Let's
Yeah. Okay. Come on. Pull up the polls. Where is that?
Type fast. Come on.
Are we the highest? Come on, prove me wrong.
No, we are number 4.
Number 4. Oh, sorry, we're 3 away. But I don't think this is something that we should be flexing about.
Where's Alaska on this? I gotta
Number
see.
2.
Oh, so you're right. There you go. You proved me wrong.
Why the
Okay.
fuck is Montana so sad?
It's because like the rate versus like population.
Okay.
Like how
Interesting.
Utah has like 663.
Still, okay. God,
So go to the education. Oh, hey, yeah, wait a minute. Sorry, go back to the suicide and sort it by number. Can you do that? Okay. Oh, that's least.
One more time.
Oh my God! No, it's funny you say that. Okay, so
There we go.
There's an episode of Rogan that I was listening to, like let's say May of the pandemic, and apparently he knows a guy who's sheriff for part of the sheriff's department in Northern California. And he's like, yeah, we usually get about 1 suicide a week, give or take. And the guy goes, yeah, now that the pandemic kicked off, now mind you, this is like April, May of 2020. He goes, yeah, we get 5 suicides a day.
Whoa.
Wait,
Yeah.
where is he at? Sorry.
In Northern California. Just somewhere in Northern California. So we go back to that rate one more time, please, the chart. So the California, does it say when it's updated?
Breathing pretty hard there,
I
Chief.
would imagine
These stats
2020.
bother you?
No.
2020, okay, yeah, so go up. So by number, California's up top with 4,300, holy fuck.
Oh, this is.
Alright, so we then go back to rate again, just to get in perspective. And yeah, based on the populace, we're like what? We are 491, but we're number 4. Now go to the education.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that's the best. So we're definitely not there.
There we go. Expand
Oh,
the list.
shit,
Keep
okay.
going. There you go.
New Mexico's. Oh, we're beating Alabama.
Congratulations. We've done it.
Alabama beat us by 1.
As of what? When was this posted?
Copyright 2020.
We'll go up real quick because they should have a date. At the
Yeah,
top
should have
of the
dated the end of the
article.
article at the end.
You got this.
I believe in you. It's the opposite of the start.
Scroll down.
They had it at the top.
You really chose a perfect guy for
Yes.
this.
No, he was going off on me. That's my bad.
Keep going. Right there on the bottom. Right?
More links. Josiah Piersee.
The sauce. Where's it at? Where's the
Sauce,
sauce?
man.
Oh, the sauce.
It's saucy.
Okay.
So let's assume.
Let me break in my TP first, and then you can tell the sauce.
Yeah, so let's assume that that's 2020. So 950, yeah, 49.
No,
What's the fucking difference?
No,
Okay.
of course.
They didn't continue. Raton was shit, so he decided to go to Roswell.
So yeah, no,
Clearly.
like I grew up in Raton, and I'll be honest, one of the weirdest things is like growing up with the same group of people. Like my class would have been like 32 people, right? And so then I went to, New Mexico Military Institute, and that's a big town for me.
Right.
And then, and whatnot. And so, and then, getting into all that aspect and whatnot. And anyway, but what happened is because I transferred, what was really weird is I was a class ahead, right, in math.
Yeah.
In Raton. I was a class ahead. I was doing math at the junior level when I was a sophomore. But whenever I transferred down to NMOI, I was at a freshman level.
Yeah.
So then whenever my junior year happened, I was at a sophomore level. So I was behind by technically 1 semester. And that's ultimately what made it where I couldn't graduate on time. Because that's how far behind the public school system is. Because obviously New Mexico Military Institute is private.
No, it's actually a public school.
It's actually public now?
It is.
Really?
No. So it's always been a public school.
Oh, really?
Okay, so I should know this. I fucking worked there for a year.
Yeah, you
but
did.
There was I forget what the technicality is. Like it's funded. I think it's because it's funded by the state.
Okay.
That's considered a public school. because the Board of Regents does work directly with the governor, and that's where they get a lot of their funding. But what's funny, sidebar, what's funny is, so have you been to Roswell?
No, I've not actually been to Roswell yet.
God bless you.
No,
So-
thanks. Thank you, my lord.
Is this your first time in
No,
Albuquerque?
wow. Yeah, it's my first time in Albuquerque.
There you go.
well, yeah.
It's my second time in New Mexico.
I drove him to like the ghetto because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I need fuel.
Yeah, we stopped at a gas station. It was one heck of
Yeah,
an
it was.
experience.
There was like 8 homeless people outside.
Yeah.
So, just saying, without the pandemic, it does not look any different. So,
We are last. This is 2020.
oh, in education or suicide?
Education.
Fuck me.
So we are last. Okay.
51.
We are, okay.
Louisiana beat us.
Damn.
No, what pisses me off is that the fuckers in Kentucky beat us, and those assholes keep voting in Mitch McConnell. Like, we're beaten by those guys. Anyway, point is, so if you look, so like, let's say NMI is here, right?
Mhm.
So that's north. Oh, these are the directions, right? So over here-ish, you've got a Starbucks, a restaurant called Farley's. You have an old building that's out of Harbor Freight, but it used to be Hastings. And then a Walgreens here, a Dairy Queen here, and then like a little hotel, right? So there's like the Nimmy golf course, and like the rest of Nimmy's like back here. But like Nimmy owns the land for all of these establishments. So whatever profits, I don't know what percentage it is, obviously, but they get a lot of the profits based on the establishments in those areas. And then I think it stops in like the 70s or the 80s. I don't fucking know. See if you can find out when Nimmy got oil funding, if you can even find that. Because Nimmy did get oil funding at one point. I remember hearing that. Because so like you've got the state of New Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And you got Roswell down here. West Texas is a hop and a skip away. And that's where you've got like Midland, Odessa, fucking Lubbock, and you got all these oil towns, right? Even Hobbs, New Mexico is considered an oil town, right? So they managed, I don't know how, but they managed to get some oil money that was in Roswell. So like, I want to say back in because I was still at the school at the time, like as a cadet, like 2015, 2016, I remember talking to a faculty member, and they're like, yeah, NIMI gets so much money as a profit. Like, let's say there were absolutely no cadets attending the school, but they still paid the faculty, the staff, everyone from the fucking newest custodian all the way up to the superintendent, right? They paid everybody, and then they kept the water running, electricity, all that stuff. NIMI would stay afloat for 7 years, and that is with no fucking revenue.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, that is how much money that fucking school has. And what's surprising too is like, yeah, I mean, for in-state, it's not incredibly, it's decently expensive, but it's not like super ginormous, whatever. Out of state's a whole other fucking story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a whole other story, but in-state's not bad. But
Don't some, it's not like counties or whatever, but doesn't like some spots in Mexico get in-state tuition?
Yes. So, because what happened with that was the governor of Sonora, Mexico. What's the fucker's name? I forget his name, but he. Can you find anything about that oil stuff? It's not gonna be on the page.
No, I couldn't find everything I brings up.
nmmi.edu.
Yeah, it's not gonna be on the page. Oh, dude, go on Google. Yahoo's whack.
Why do you have your default Yahoo?
No, dude, that's the weird thing is I keep setting my default to Google, but it reverts back to fucking Yahoo.
Skynet. Okay.
Dude, it's real. So anyway,
It's real.
anyway, so the governor of Sonora at one point, so I think it was like 2 governors ago.
Just pick one.
If you open up another tab and look up the previous governors of Sonora, Mexico,
What?
I forget the guy's name,
I'll use my hands.
and I don't think it's
Magic Man.
Padres. Sonora,
Sorry.
Sonora, Mexico. No, Mexico, not New Mexico, Mexico.
I got you.
The real Mexico, by the way.
Oh, so it is Padres.
I still
Okay.
need to talk about
So
when I broke an
that
ATP.
guy, or no,
Yes, sidebars.
Oh my god.
yeah. So that guy, Guillermo Padres Elias. So do you remember one of my sergeant majors, Sergeant Major Padres?
Mm-hmm.
That's his fucking uncle or his dad or whatever.
Oh, cool.
I forget what the lineage is. Anyway, so he's an alumni, and so he was able to strike a deal with the Board of Regents, and so the people that are residents of like native residents of Sonora, and then Arizona has some sort of deal with them, I believe.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong on that. But so no to Mexico, and then if you graduate, just in general, if you graduate from a high school in New Mexico, or you're a New Mexico resident, you get in-state tuition, right?
Yeah.
Out of state's fucking ridiculous. But what's interesting is a lot of, from what I remember, is the majority of the demographics are either Mexicans or native New Mexicans, right? And so the native New Mexicans, what they have over the Mexicans is they get a thing called legislative scholarship. And that's the only reason why I was able to go.
Same. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
I had the legislative for a bit, and I almost had it pulled for me. And
Same. Same. Because I made a 2.5, and I was a shithead in high school, and I almost fucking lost like 2 times. Anyway, the point is.
Yeah. No, trust me. That's how I met you. Was
Yeah.
at that point in life. Yeah.
Well, at some point, we should tell him we met, because that's a...
Oh, we'll get there.
That's
Yeah.
a trip and a half.
Yeah. He needs to hurry up with his.
Yeah. Yes.
But let's. Yeah. I will.
So
That's for later.
So
That's
what
for
I find
OnlyFans.
is interesting is like one of their biggest demographics, they get a huge discount. That legislative takes out 75% of your tuition.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So
Dude, there was literally one, because I applied for so many scholarships. My final semester as a senior, I got paid.
Yeah.
I got paid.
Yeah, they'll pay you.
No way.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
if you
literally-
get so many scholarships,
It was
they'll pay you to
it was
go
like
there.
$300 or something, but still,
Yeah.
I got paid for my final semester at.
Well, I remember Forat, dude, the last semester.
What a guy! Yeah, shout out to him,
Yeah,
because
shout out to
he's
Eric Forat.
honestly, because if it wasn't for him and me becoming, underneath him, because I worked underneath him, if it wasn't for that and you and him sharing rooms,
We would have really been friends.
yeah, well, not really
We've
at
been
all.
acquaintances.
Yeah, if anything, and then because you two were roommates, I would stop by your guys' room all the time and hang out and whatnot, and we would talk about what we need to do and everything else, and that's what equated to me and you being like, hey, let's go live in heaven.
Yeah.
And and then that sparked literally everything else.
Yeah, so why I bring that up though is because I remember because he stayed to the freshman year of college and transferred to NMSU, but I stayed until sophomore. Well, his last semester of his freshman year, from what I remember him telling me, he paid like $230 for college. It was fucking nothing, man.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So
Yeah.
Thank you for changing my savings. So anyway, TV story.
So TP getting broken into, right? So basically, to build that up, after NMMI, since I technically flunked out, I already told them, because of other reasons, it doesn't really matter why. We can talk about it. I don't care.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Basically, I left NIMI, and I chose that a long time before. And if I'm being honest, I should have been completely suspended. I should have been kicked out of that school because I was skipping classes, all that stuff there at the end, right? And I'm not ashamed of that. If somebody wants to fucking learn my story, cool. Come talk to me one-on-one, and I'll tell you. But
you're a dumb 19-year-old. We all were.
I mean, I'm still dumb to this day.
I figure this out every weekend.
Yeah, every weekend, right? And so, it was just something that I needed to move on because I basically did as much as I could do there, right? And then also, it would have been really weird for me because you being a year older than me, you were already a sophomore when I was a freshman, right? So it would have been weird for me to be in an environment that wasn't with you guys because I was so used to growing up with you guys. So anyway, because of that, I was like, I need to reset. I need that school does put a lot on you, and it makes and like you said earlier, it makes you grow up, and it makes you grow up quick. And if you don't grow up, you're not gonna do good.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Yeah, and it's just how it is. And don't get me wrong, it's like anywhere you go, you have good and bad stories, right? And that's the main reason why I wanted to go to that school, because if I just went through Raton, got my, it would just, I would not.
You probably would have gotten a GED.
Yeah, I still would have, graduated, and everything, but I definitely would not have gotten a GED. But still, I would not be at the level that I'm at now, right?
Maturity wise.
Yeah, not only maturity wise, but also too, originally, I didn't really care about education, but now, I'm literally 4 classes away from my associates, and I have all these aspirations to eventually become, a provider, right? I want to become work in the ER and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I love medicine, so, and I enjoy schooling now. Before I didn't, but it's because I've been able to take a break and reflect. And during that time of reflection, I was like, I really love the rendezvous aspect of life, right? And I was like, what would be really great for me is instead of going to this super, tech savvy world where I'm constantly checking my, NMMI ABT email, and ABT. What a thing. I'm constantly adjusting my slider card. You know where I am at study hall or whatever, right? Like, instead of all this stuff in a very structured, I'm like, why don't I apply for a job at the state park up in Raton, Sugar Canyon State Park, and work there?
Which is gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous, right? Gorgeous, like, absolutely.
One of my favorite. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
one
fine.
of my favorite memories of all time.
Really?
Like, is going up to that state park, and he showed me this little fishing spot, and we just set up a little speaker. We ended up turning it off after 5 fucking minutes, and we just fucking sat. And literally, if you would cut down the trees, you could see into Colorado.
Yeah.
No way.
No. So you can,
No way.
So it's two lakes. There's Lake Maloya, which is what Raton gets all its fresh water from, which is something also you guys have noticed since you've been up in Raton. It is phenomenal water. Like they do no changes in the water. It's fresh. It's phenomenal water, right? But there's Sugary, and then what's the lake above that? I know you're zooming into it, but there's Sugary, and it should be Lake Dorothy, if I remember correctly. Lake Dorothy, boom. She's in Colorado.
So if you see,
so that curve is where we fish.
yeah,
right
so
there.
you see that little curve on the
That curve on the left side, yeah.
Move
So
the cursor down.
Yeah, move it down a little bit more.
To your right.
Down.
Down.
That curve. Down.
The curve on
Down.
the
Left.
Struggles with
Up.
directions.
There you go. That's right
So
there.
that's
That's
where
where we
we were.
fish. Yeah. And I took him there because I was like, look, man, like I'm not trying to hike a lot and whatnot.
If you put the porta shitter as a landmark.
Wait, what? Oh, good.
Respectable.
I've cleaned that shitter many of times. I've also pumped shit many of times. Shout out to my job. So yeah, no, that was literally my job. And like basically every day I would just wake up, chill, and then I just wanted something different. So I was like, hey, look, is it fine if I get a campsite? And they're like, well, we can't give you a wet campsite. And a wet campsite means like, hey, you're gonna have electricity and plumbing and all this stuff, right? Because a lot of people take their like RVs up there and stuff, right?
And make sure the computer's on.
And so because of that, like I was like, hey, look, I just want dry camping.
Yeah.
Originally, like it's only like $5 to $7, I think, but it might have changed now to rent there like a night, right?
Oh, that's not bad. So you pay like what? 50,
no.
$30 a month?
Because I worked there, they gave it to me for free.
No way.
So yeah, Yahweh. And Yahweh. So they gave it to me for free, and it was really cool. I worked up in Soda Pocket Campground, which is only open in the summertime as well. So it was beautiful. Like, and so I set up my 18-foot teepee that I had, and it was great. I had my Grand Cherokee, which, you know, rest in peace. That thing, we blew the transmission going back up to Raton literally like 4 days ago. So anyway, I had that thing, and the nice thing is my basic day is I would wake up at like 7 a.m. and stuff, and I would cook some food on a fire that I would make whatever way I wanted to. And I would like make a fire, cook some like, you know, usually like a quick meal to make was like chunky noodle soup, right? So I just made some like chunky soup.
Oh, is this where your love of soup comes from? You're
Yeah,
like,
I love soup.
you don't
Like
know.
I literally dated a woman, and she's like, "Where do I fall in the spectrum of love?" And I'm like, "Okay, you're about like right here, right? My love for soup is here, and it'll never pass this threshold."
You don't understand the amount of times.
I love soup.
Yeah, I know you love soup. I know you love soup.
Like
The amount of times I've seen you like crack open a can and like pour it out and be like, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You're like, oh, I'm making soup. And I'm like, again? You had it like yesterday. And you're like, yeah, I just love soup.
Yeah. You're telling me, right?
Since you did.
So soup, man. You can literally add anything. You're like, oh no, I have leftovers. Throw it in a soup, right? Oh no, I have all these different things. Make a soup, right? Yeah, I have all these different things. You can make a soup. So like it's so great. And guess what? Like it could be summertime soup, right? You are hydrating yourself at the same time. Like you're doing 2 for 1, right? You are doing all of this at the same time. You're telling me that soup is not the best dish ever served because and you can have it cold, you can have it hot, you can have it any way you want. And not only that, there's so many different flavors. Like I love soup, man. Like I love you. This man pulls up on Reddit. Soup is the worst food option.
of available standard food, so what's not a standard food option?
But who the fuck? No. I need to read this. I need
Who is this by? Who is this by?
I need to bring this guy down. Yeah, who's this guy?
Who's this by? We should put him on the podcast.
Yes, I'm gonna add. Get my teeth meeting. Buddy, there's thicker types of soup. Soup is dumb. I'm done with this man. All right. He does not bring anything to this equation. Okay. Anyway, with soup, you can make so much with it, right? Like, and so it's just.
That's how you get better mics, man.
So, anywho. Yeah, that's usually how I start my day, with a nice bowl of soup. And the nice thing is how I position my TV, right?
Wait. How this is a headline. How foul is it that it's almost impossible to quote eat in quote soup without making obnoxious noises with your mouth? No face. Wait. He goes on to say.
Yep.
Now
Okay,
I understand
go ahead.
there are folks that need to eat soup. Older people with bad bladders and actual fetuses. So what are you? Are you an old person with a bad bladder, or are you a fetus?
No, I'm a connoisseur for the finer things in life. I'm efficient when I eat.
Why do you want chicken water?
Disgusting. There's more to things than... Obviously not educated in the things of soup.
Why do you want chicken water, bro?
Why do I want chicken water? Why don't you?
Anyway, so back to your daily
Why fight the impure when they're already just, invalid in life, all right?
Well, that's the thing. That's the problem with arguing with stupid people. They bring you down to the level and they beat you. That's the whole point.
You sound like you've been there a couple times before.
He is the stupid person. So that's the joke. That's why he's inviting all these people here, and he's just beating them down, asking them all these questions. He has this gentleman here.
No, I'm doing it because my therapist ghosted me. That's why.
Oh, we're not going into this. We're not going into this. We don't message me online. We cannot talk about this.
Dude, to get a hold of this guy online, you gotta go on fucking MySpace or something.
Yeah,
go on Friends.
Yeah, on MySpace.
He will not make an Instagram.
No, he's got a Facebook though.
Yeah, but he never. Well, he does check it for the group chat.
No, just send him
I
memes.
share
If you want to get
massive
a hold of this guy, easiest way, send him a meme.
No,
Yeah.
a good meme.
A good meme. He'll immediately respond. He'll be like,
absolutely.
Why won't you get on Instagram?
because there's no
Honestly.
memes.
And do you do it to just like say, hey, I'm the guy that's not on Instagram?
No, I just generally just never made one.
But there's so.
But I've taken.
I'm giving you that much. Like he's on Instagram, he's on TikTok. You're on Instagram, so I'm giving you guys
TikTok.
Yeah, dude. There's a lot of funny comedians.
I
on
need
there.
to talk about my TV being broken into.
Wait. Do you make?
No, I don't make TikToks. I strictly observe.
Thank God. Okay.
No, I'm not out there
Were
like.
you worried?
Were you worried?
Yeah.
I
Were you
brought
worried?
this man into your house.
Yes.
And you were
Yeah,
worried
you
that
were
he
worried.
makes TikToks?
Wow.
Hey man, the Russians can infiltrate the fucking American government. At TikTok, can infiltrate my condo.
That's
all right?
fair.
Yeah,
It's
true.
very
He's
plausible.
definitely not a Slav. There's that. So that's that going
Okay,
for him.
so
Yeah.
your TP got
My
broken.
TP, right? So whenever I work there, right, my basic work schedule is basically I'd wake up in the morning, have a bowl of soup. Soup is amazing. And then I would go to work, and like the nice thing is I had a mountain bike, and because where I worked was lower than where I had to, like I went for like the main garage or whatever, I'll just ride my bike down. It was like a 2-mile ride or whatever, and I'll just ride it down. Super nice. And so because of that, basically what I did is I'd ride down to work, jump in my work vehicle, and just do my rounds. And basically all I did was just go around and just make sure that, everything was good from the, like I just checked the restrooms, asked people like how they're fishing and stuff, just checked up with the people, and then just like reported anything to like, obviously the park ranger.
I was
or
gonna say
whatever.
like it sounds like you're almost like an unlicensed game warden.
So pretty much like my official title was park technician, or
Okay.
park technician assistant or something like
That
that.
makes sense.
But still, like I literally just ran around, and I tell you what, if there's anything that I learned from that job, it's doing this. Because I've weed-eated miles, and I mean miles of trails. And because I got stupid long arms, I can do the whole trail by standing in the middle.
Weeded, as in
Like weed eater. Like a weed eater, right?
Weed
And so
whacker,
what I would,
weed
weed whacker, right? So
Yeah.
like I would get a backpack and I would fill it up with like fuel bottles, like bottles like this. I'd fill these up with fuel, like gasoline, and I'd fill like 2 or 3 of them up with water, and I'll just
Did you ever mix them? You're like, time to open it up.
calm down. I'm not. not that insane. I'm also not stupid. So, but however, I would carry that and then just randomly.
Okay, that's right. I remember how Joey looked up weeding hiking trails, and one of the first pictures was the guy smoking a joint next to a river.
Nice. But look up Sugary Canyon State Park hiking trails. So you can see some of them. Hiking. So funny thing is, so I have a lot to talk about, and it's gonna be pretty quick. So pretty much that's all I did is I weeded a lot of trails because there's over like I think 20 miles of trails up there, but they only have like 4 workers. So like they straight up told me like when I got the job, they're like, look, when you have free time, you're weed eating trails. Period. You're always behind. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So there's some days that like I would go do my rounds real quick, and that's all I did was literally just this motion, just weed eating trails, right? And like don't get me wrong, it was great because the whole time I'm just away. But like when you've been weed eating for like 6 hours straight, man, it's just rough. And but still, like either way, I would do that, go to work, take like a lunch break or whatever, and do what you have. And yeah, those are all the trails I've done. Those many of times. I know. I literally can tell you. I can walk you through those trails. That's how much I've walked them. Yeah, what's really interesting is I know I'm asking you to do a lot, but look up the track fire. The track fire in Raton, New Mexico. So Raton had a huge fire that went through, right? Track, just like a normal like running track for whatnot. Track fire, Raton, New Mexico. I forgot exactly what year that went down, but it definitely went down before I went down in NMI. And there was a huge fire that went through Raton, and it actually shut down the interstate because of how big it was. And because of that, the whole state park was burned, right? And so now there's a lot of new foliage and stuff. And yeah, no, that's a huge picture. That was one of the most famous pictures because. Is that right above where you live? Yeah, that's right above where I was. I literally, I would stand from. 4th of July. So yeah, I would stand from my house and I can look up and I actively saw fires burning from my house. And I was literally like, we had an RV at the time and my dad was off working, doing his thing. And we were just waiting for the word that we had to evacuate.
So this was, okay, so the pictures say 2011. So you're like 13 at that point?
Yeah, I was like 13. It was myself and my sister and my mom that were there. And my dad was off away because it was like a state of, not really emergency. My dad had to work, so but we were there with an RV and stuff. And I'm caveats. What a rabbit hole. But anyway, that happened. So because of that, there's a lot of new foliage and stuff. But it was also the remnants of that, right? The remnants of that fire. Because the nice thing about that fire is that it burned really quick, really fast, right? And so some of the trees survived, but some of them obviously didn't. And so for like a couple years afterwards, it was really hard for them to get the like Maloya back up and when working and everything else. And so, it was definitely something interesting and obviously something that, I'll remember. Because I'll never forget standing at my front porch at my parents' house where I used to live and seeing actively like it burning on the mesa, away. So anyway, so that caused a lot of new life because, that's why the fire department makes like controlled burns and stuff because it is healthy. It is healthy for the environment, right? It is and everything else. So that happened. So there was a lot of, different stuff going on there. And basically at the end of my day, I would get done with that, whatever. Sometimes, like once, I think a month, whatever, we would run through with what we called the honey wagon, which the honey wagon was a giant fuel, like not fuel, but it was a truck that was able to suck up, waste, human waste, right? And one of my memories of that is it was like 90 degrees up in Raton, and it was way bigger than that. Though it was a whole like unit. It was like a truck and everything. Like if the thing was full, it would not make it up, like because of how high like the elevation change. Anyway, so it's a honey wagon, and it sucked up human feces and stuff from the porta johns.
Well, right, you get the giant tube, shove it in it.
Yeah, so basically one of my memories that has scarred me for life on that job is it was 90 degrees and we were gonna pump the the porta johns and everything, and there was a Girl Scout community that just went through, and
already off to a good start.
They went through in the morning, and I'm not going to give any details. Let your imagination go.
Right. These Girl Scouts like shit? They didn't poop. They shit.
No, they did that and more. So this has been fermenting for at least 6 to 8 hours, right?
They're porta shitters, right?
Yeah.
With the porta shitters and not only that, but like there are also bigger septic tanks and stuff. And like there's been times that we like suck up stuff and we're finding like syringes, like used syringes and stuff, like 100%. I mean, this is Rat Tone America. Like come on.
So the Girl Scouts were.
No. Whoa.
Time to go sell cookies. Time to get that extra badge. Here we go.
Shoot it up in the state park. So anyway, I will never forget. I mean, the person that I'm literally wearing a shirt that says "Life is a joke." I will always turn it into a joke. And I went to start pumping that shitter, and there was a lot of like clogs that it had. And I don't know if you've ever pumped shit, but if it starts clogging, you have to create a back pressure in the tank, and you shoot it out. And then you start sucking back in. So we've had to do that at least like 5 or 6 times. And the whole time I joke around and I put it in between my legs. I'm riding it like a Bronco because this thing is kicking and going and everything.
Okay, I just want to be clear because I'm painting a couple of pictures in my head right now.
There's a tube from a truck
I get that
into
part,
a tank.
My question,
and it's sucking like with 4 C's. Suck.
Yes.
Like,
but the end of the tank is the tube. It's going into the shitter, right? You're not just like blowing shit on the floor, right?
Yeah. No.
Thank God.
So it's in the tank. So that like if you ever notice, like I know everybody that hears this, they're gonna like look at it in a different aspect. But there's different like septacles or whatever that you can open up that we go through, and then like so we're
right. I'm just talking about the end that's like doing the initial.
It is literally just a
yes, but like I'm talking about the end that goes into the shitter. Like you're not having that in the shitter right now on the fucking floor. So that's what I'm asking.
So yeah, no, it goes directly in the shitter. Like the only ones that like were inside is the ones that are like those portable ones that you can like pick up and put on a trailer, right? Right. So we are actively inside of those, but those ones are really simple because a lot of people don't fuck with those, right? It's those ones that are like more permanent.
Structures.
Yeah, hard structure, stuff like that, right?
Like a rest stop style.
Kinda.
It's a really run down rest stop style.
I mean, it's still like a hard structure in a sense. Like there's concrete laid and stuff like that. But still, anyway. So
Joey,
we literally have
check real quick, make sure they're centered on us.
We literally have to.
You just gotta look at them.
No, you're good. And so, like at the beginning, you open it up, and I always hate opening them up at first because, like, the act of pumping is not that big of a deal. It's when you first open it up, it's all those people that go through and litter inside.
Right.
And that's what sucks, man. Because you literally have to sit there with a rake, and you have to rake that stuff out. And you're there with like a 20-foot rake, and here you are raking in a pool of feces and stuff, and it's just anyway. But back to my story of what I'll never forget is that stuff was fermenting for 6 to 8 hours. And here I am, and I'm pretty sure this was one of the deciding factors of why I don't really have a sense of smell. Because, God.
There's more to that.
Yeah. There's always layers. This is an onion farm between these.
It's like lore. Like, you know, I feel like knowing him long enough,
like,
I'm pretty educated in lore, but like, sometimes I'm like, here's
there's the lore behind Briscoe. Almost revels the Dark Souls or Blood.
No, I was gonna say it's more like D&D. You know,
no,
it's got a bunch of like books and
yeah. Oh, D. Okay, God, so many caveats. So anyway, because we still have yet to talk about my TV getting broken into. So basically, that was just. Obviously, for the people that can understand what I'm saying, like it was gruesome and it was horrible. And then not only that, then basically what you do afterwards, for the people that are curious, once you get that up, then you go to we drive into town and then we just send it all out and we go on our day, right? No big deal. But that day was gruesome. Like I said, it was like 90, 95, which is stupid hot for Raton. Raton's like 6,600 altitude. We always joke around that Raton is 6,666 altitude. But either way, it's crazy because some of the peaks up there are a lot higher and it's Mesa and stuff. But one thing I remember doing is at the time I was talking to a girl, and since there was no like service or anything, I remember telling her, I was like, hey, after I get off work or whatever, I can hike up this mesa or drive like 10 miles into town to get service. And so I remember hiking up this trail like almost every day to talk to her or like to talk to the boys and stuff. And I'd hike up that trail to get up to the mesa, and I would send them like memes or whatever else.
Wait, so you hiked 10 miles?
No, so it was either a 2-mile trail that I had to hike or a 10-mile drive.
Okay.
Right?
Like, you hiked 10 miles?
Yeah, it's like you were really trying to get laid. Like,
Okay, so for
It's okay, I got left on
red. No, you like 10 miles of the ball. No, 2 miles is still fun. That's
and it was uphill. Like, so that for that one to get up on top, like it is known as like one of the hardest trails because there at the end you're literally like climbing on rocks and shit just to get up to the top. Once you get on top, it's phenomenal.
I just imagine like Leonidas from the beginning of 300, where he's just like climbing, misses the rock, climbs back up.
So it wasn't true free climbing, but it is really rough, and like it's so rough that like I literally don't even have to weed eat that part of the trail because it's like next to impossible. But anyway, sorry. So that's just for reference, like of how like secluded this is, and that's why a lot of people go there and whatnot. And it's one of those hidden gems of northern New Mexico because I mean you've seen it. It's fucking beautiful.
No, it's seriously.
It is.
I've turned more into an outdoorsy person over the past like 2, 3, 4 years ish. But I think what really just like switched me over because I just.
Were you not outdoorsy before?
Yeah, not really, because like I was really brought up. It's a better term. I was really brought up on like a very overprotective parents.
Really, your parents were never like, we're doing a fucking family vacation. We're going camping,
no.
And you're like, Dad,
so
come on.
So first of all,
there's a lot to learn.
Okay, so first of all, my parents got divorced at fucking the ripe age of 3.5, 4 years old. So there were no family vacations. A. Well, I guess mom and dad family vacations. A. B. My mom is still very overprotective, right? And I mean that I'd rather have that than the parent that doesn't give a fuck, which is what my dad is. He's not gonna fuck about me, and I don't give a fuck about him.
No,
but the point is I was very much in the lane of like indoors, video games, reading. I mean, you saw my comic books.
Yeah, no, I saw your comic book.
Yeah, dude,
My first interaction with this guy wasn't in person. It was literally because Riley did.
Oh,
she made us play Injustice.
Yeah.
No, that's sorry.
Yeah,
Side caveat, but that's super weird because I was growing up the opposite way. Like my dad was always like,
so see, that's
like
the thing,
we gotta go, we're going camping. I'm like,
so that's the thing, right? Is so my mom, when she was seeing this one guy who was really good dude, recently passed away like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe sooner. I don't know. Time is a construct. Anyway,
Sorry.
So when we would go camping, we would definitely go out to a site. Hike, fish, whatever, but it wasn't like true camping. We'd be in a fucking trailer.
Oh,
you know,
geez.
And me being the, I don't know, I was maybe 10 or 11 at the time, maybe even 12. I don't know if I had cracked high school yet, but being the kid that I was, I would go out there with them in the trailer, but I would bring my Xbox. I'd hook it up to the little like 15-inch monitor that was in the thing.
You're a disgrace.
You're
a fucking disgrace. That's what you are. You're a goddamn disgrace.
And I would play Call of Duty or Zombies, Derice, like that.
Dude,
so
your parents are like, hey, look, there's deer at your, like, don't care, 10 kill streak, about to sit in the...
I don't have my pack-a-punch.
Exactly. So like because I graduated college in 2017. Mm-hmm. So after that, when I really did go out on my own, I got the famous apartment. And yeah, so I got my apartment and I did all these things and I really became my own person. That's when I started to kind of somewhat borderline hyperextend myself into like trying new things and going out and again, not saying, and it was nothing fucking illegal when I say trying new things. It was just literally just fucking doing things outside. So to give you just context, we literally met fucking 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
In person anyway.
Yeah.
So just to give you context, so I was engaged at one point because I was a dumb 19, 20-year-old.
Hey, where's that video at? Sorry.
Oh, God. So,
I got it. Where's my phone at? I'll pull it up right now.
Like an absolute idiot.
I was the one that recorded it. So
yeah. So what happened was, me and my chick ended up splitting up. She broke up with me, and I was fucking devastated.
Naturally.
Whatever, right? Naturally. So I texted my homie, and I was like, I texted all the boys, obviously, but he's like, because at the time you were working up at the state park.
Yeah, and I offered to everybody. I was like, hey, anybody that wants to come up.
Yeah.
Anybody.
So I texted him. It was the weekend of 4th of July, and I was like, dude, I need.
You said you need to get away.
Right. Can you hear that though?
What?
Is that outside?
It's a truck outside.
Truck outside.
It's
So-
probably still in my vehicle. Who knows? Whatever.
Floating it up into the back, you know, like
Yeah, so I texted him and I was like, dude, I need to get away. I need to be where there is literally no cell service. Because again, I like as much as I love social media, and I think on almost every episode that I've shot, I've talked about social media. Because like going to NIMI, like people like me, him, Joey, we know people from all around the world, right?
And
it's a blessing because
I'm just saying, but you're also low key addicted. Like
yeah, no. So
out of everybody, like you're definitely like not.
Well,
to talk
I mean,
shit,
you have this
like,
whole podcast, and you know.
Well, so here's the thing, right? So here's the thing. So we know people from all around the world, and that's a blessing.
Yeah.
So social media is how we get connected with these people, how we stay connected, right? However, on the other side, especially at that age, you know, all I could fucking think about was my ex. All I was doing was my ex, my fucking social media. So I was like, dude, I literally need to get out of like cell service because she, for whatever reason, I mean, she wasn't good for me, right? And so she even after
I'm sorry.
no, you're good. After we even ended the engagement, she was still trying to hit me up and all these things, and I was just keep deleting messages, and I just got to a point I was like, I need to get out of cell service, right? So to loop this back around to something positive, you know, I went up and I kicked it with Briscoe 4th of July weekend. I was there for like 2 or 3 days, and I gotta say, like there's a place here in New Mexico about an hour and a half like that way. It's called Nambe Falls, and I went there recently with my girlfriend and her family. We went there like last summer and even last year, and like it was just beautiful, right? Absolutely beautiful falls, beautiful hiking trails, all these things. And we went out there and I went camping with them because they're big campers. But like it's hard for me to decide like which was a more beautiful spot because like that was awesome and great, but I think what like had a small leg up on the Raton spot that we went, the first Colorado, was like nobody was there. Like we made it into one person that was fishing, but like nobody was there.
Yeah,
and
it's I'm telling you, it is. I've been all around New Mexico. I was born and raised here. I was actually born in Raton. The hospital that I was born in is now shut down.
Big surprise.
Yeah, big surprise. It definitely wasn't because of me, but whatever. Anyway, so, but yeah, dude, like it is such a hidden gem, and like I tried making it that one time that I got you guys up to go flying in balloons and stuff. That one time, I tried making it happen where we were able to live up there and like camp out there and stuff. But like the cool thing about I chose my camp spot because there was very minimal wind. It's like the perfect camp spot. Yeah. There was very minimal wind. You still were secluded. Like people, you weren't really living next to anybody. And I had my teepee orientated because I do it out of respect, obviously, because of the Native Americans. I always faced my, the door east to welcome the rising sun, right? And the nice thing about that is that I had the slit perfectly centered on my teepee. And I did this indirectly, that I never had to usually set an alarm clock because there was a slit in my doorway that the sun would rise up and it would shine directly on my eyes and it would wake me up every time because I'm a relatively light sleeper. And obviously, dependent but stuff, but like back then I was a super light sleeper. Because like especially my job and stuff, like there was one time that I had to work a night shift where me and the park ranger walked around and I had a paintball gun and we would just wait for bears. And that's it. And like we were just spotlighting like deer and stuff all night long, and I'm just walking around with this like it looks exactly like an AR, but it's a paintball gun because I did a lot of paintball guns and stuff. Anyway, so I would walk around and I was just ready to light up bears that were walking around and stuff, but sadly, never found any. Anyway, so the teepee was really nice because like it was my own thing, and like I remember meeting a gentleman, and I hate that I forget his name, but I met this dude
Shout
because
out to that guy,
Yeah, no, seriously, if this guy's watching this, like please for the love of God, get in contact with me because he was so cool. He was a retired policeman, right? And he had a mohawk just like me.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, he had a mohawk just like me. And immediately, I met him at the visitor center when I was weed eating, and I stopped, I looked at him, and I'm like, yes. And he's like, yes. And I was like, instant bond.
Well, see,
like,
the same thing is like,
bond.
so like, So I haven't shown a lot of people and honestly, it's because A, I don't have a lot of friends outside the homies, and B, now that we've got COVID,
I mean, you talk to more people than I do.
I don't let people in my house with the fucking COVID, obviously.
Well, I feel pretty special.
Yeah, you should. But like,
Yeah, you're welcome.
You know, what we were talking about yesterday when I switched to my library, and I've taken one person up there that's not out of the friend group, right? And I showed them it, and they were like, "Oh, this is so cool! Look at all these statues and these comics and these graphic novels." But people who fucking get it, and people that are fucking like nerds, right? They walk in, they don't say shit. They walk in that fucking room, and one of these days I'll do a fucking library tour on my channel. One of these days.
It'll take like fucking 10 hours.
But like
real shit.
Yeah, but like people that get it, they walk in and they're like, yeah.
Damn, by Kendrick. By Kendrick Lamar.
Like
100%.
Because that's fucking 15 fucking.
Oh, it's easily more, dude. Like that's like because we went there and we did like a very quick, like super quick, like rundown of the money and stuff. Like me and him, and we just for the fuck of it, $15,000 is like putting this thing like
at a low end,
at a super humble end.
Yeah.
But anyway. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to get this done so this man can talk some too, because I'm not.
Well, I kind of circle back to something when you're done. That's both of you for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Because I lived in the teepee, I had a great spot, whatnot, right? I remember I was sitting there, I was weed eating the visitor center one time, right? And this chick comes up to me and she's like, "Hey," and she has something like obvious questions like, "Hey, how much is rent for the night?" Blah blah stuff like that. Genuine stuff. I don't mind it. Like it was cool. She's like, "Hey, also, last thing, I really love the exhibit you guys have in Soda Pop." And I was like, "What do you mean?" There's only a theater, which we only use as like to like do some things every now and then up in Soda Pocket Campground. There's no exhibit.
This is a true story, by the way.
Just 100%, and that's the best part about it. Is that like I'm telling you, like all of this stuff that I talk about is true, and that's what's great. Like, like all of this is true.
It's a lore. It's ever expanding.
It's ever expanding.
I would say, even though I haven't talked much, I would say that I'm pretty knowledgeable in lore because this is what we do. We drink alcohol and get into shenanigans. And he goes, "Hey, by the way, here's the
like
thing."
plundering vehicles.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But he's always like, "Hey, here's this story you haven't heard," and I'll be like, "Oh, like add that to my list."
Seriously, it is unfathomable how much he's heard of like my stories and stuff. Because like literally like every weekend we would just get together. Like we're not working, whatever. I'm like, "Hey, come by," and he's like, "Okay." And then he would come by and we just chill, drink,
hang out with this dog. You know?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry. Anyway, so she's like, "Yeah, there's an exhibit up in Soda Pocket Campground," and I'm like, "Interesting, like I don't remember there being one." She's like, "I really loved how you made it look like somebody lived there." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah, my kids really loved walking around the teepee that you guys had set up. Like it looked very set up like as if it was period, but at the same time, like from the inside, like you had your own like cabinets with your food and stuff, and you had like, it looked like somebody actively was living there." And I'm like, "Ma'am, did you ever think that like somebody really was living there?" And she's like, "No, I didn't." I'm like, "Yeah, crazy idea. I'm that person." And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, thanks for the candy. My kids took some of your candy." And I'm like, "Oh my God, my mother made me like a bag of candy, and that was filled with like Hershey's bars and stuff. And the kids thought it was part of the exhibit. And so they just took it. They're like, "Oh, it's free real estate." And they just took it, dude. And I'm just like in awe. So from then on, I had some small, like I say small, but they were like, I would guess like 30-pound traps. How I locked my door in my teepee from then on is the door is basically 3 different things, right? So it's like this, 3 different pins that we used as like, and whatever. And I would like weave the bottom pin in, for one, and from then on, I put two bear traps, not bear traps, sorry, I mean poor like raccoon traps at the front entrance. And I'm sorry, but if you try to go into somebody's like teepee and you pull back that flap and you see 2 immediate traps, don't go into the fucking house. Like,
send it.
Like I'm just saying, like I get it. It's literally just a piece of cloth between me and the real world, but like Noah, you can vouch for this. Like, it is without a doubt. And I mean, even you've experienced this, Joey. Like, you guys came up and you guys, we set up in my backyard. Like, there's camping and then there's camping in a teepee. Because the dopest thing about a teepee is that you can have a fire inside.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to set up anything. You can just be like, cool, boom, and you just made a fire. And it's so nice. And like the teepee that I have, and I mean, we recently acquired another one too. 18-footer is huge. Like, I told him, I was like, look, man, I was expecting like all the boys showing up. And so I had 3 beds set up plus my pantry. And I had room for anything. Like, you still had room to walk around. You still had room for everything else. You still had room for the entrance and everything. Everybody had room, and it was great. And to tie this all together, whenever he came up, he was like, "Hey man, I need to get away." And I'm like, "That's fine." And I remember like talk to him very minimally. I was like, "Look, man, I don't need details. That's fine. Just come up. Once you come up, we can talk." Yeah. And I'm like, even if we don't talk, that's fine. I understand. Like, one of the nicest things about nature and the people that truly understand nature and like love it. And I mean, you and me have gone to a lot of things up in Alaska, like the Arctic Circle and stuff. And I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah.
We've gone a lot of things. And the people that truly enjoy are the people that just sit there and they're just like.
No, I mean.
They're speechless.
No,
like,
see, it's from like, for me, especially when I went up there, like, the experience that I had when it was night, the experience that I had, oddly enough, was oddly unconscious. It was as we were, because don't be wrong, fishing was great, hiking was great, all these things, cooking in the actual teepee was great, but like the last 30 minutes because me and him, we sat down and kind of just talked for a bit about things that were going on with both of us. And so we were there, we talked for about 45 minutes, and we knocked out. And then, so that rest that I had, I didn't dream at all. I might as well have been a corpse. Like, I was just fucking done. And I slept like fucking a full 8 or 9 hours. Like a good, healthy sleep, right? So I slept.
Yeah, didn't I wake up before you? Like, I started like the fire.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So he ended up waking up before me, like not by a whole lot, but he woke up before me, and then waking up to small embers of a fire. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. So like small embers of a fire, and then. But because he had, what was nice is like the fire was there, but there was still a lot of nature coming in, like that natural just nature, It's basically the same fucking word, but just the aura, the smell, the essence of it. And when I woke up, I remember for like not very long, 3 to 5 minutes, I felt very like oddly psychedelic. It was very cleansing. And I think that's a lot of things, or I think that's an experience that a lot of people don't get anymore. And that kind of brings me into what I wanted to talk about earlier when you said that I was addicted to social media, because I agree with you. And
I mean, but at the same time, mind you, too, like, just a side caveat, like, also too, like, we drove into town to see the fireworks show. We watched the fireworks show at a spot that I eventually brought other boys to.
Yeah.
But me and him sat there and we just watched the fireworks show because Raton, New Mexico has a great fireworks show for how small the city is, and a lot of people come to that city purely for the fireworks show. And so we watched that stuff on the 4th of July, and then we eventually just rode back to the teepee and then slept there and stuff.
Well,
So
here's why I bring that up though, is because like there'll be times that I'm either in my car or I'm here at the house and I know that I have things to do. Like, I'm not a open scheduled person. Like, I have shit.
No, I can tell by just meeting you.
I have shit to, I have shit I need to take care of.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's my professional life and it's this, or my bodybuilding training, or it's my personal life, which is basically my fucking girlfriend. Yeah. Like, I have things that I need to fucking do, right? And that's outside of working 9 hours a day. So, and I find myself very oddly, I'll just be laying in bed. Really, it's either laying in my bed, sitting in my car, or taking a shit. And I'm just like, numbingly.
No shit, there I was.
Yeah.
Scrolling on Instagram.
No, yeah.
And that's how I met my girlfriend.
No, I'm just like unknowingly just scrolling through this like heap of shit.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just and about like 15 seconds in, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I have things to do. Like my brain will tell me that. And I'm just like, you know. And I think like my biggest problem, well, I guess not my biggest, but like one of my biggest problems with this pandemic going on right now is like, yeah, it sucked that, like, it broke my heart that movie theaters closed. Like, you two know that especially. I'm a big movie guy.
Yeah, come on. Show us. I mean, we all know your sleeves. Like, you're literally covered in tattoos of cinema.
So I have.
And you're always like.
Well, I mean, that's right there. Like, if anyone.
And they're like, hey, boys, we have to see this in IMAX. if we don't watch
with our 3D glasses.
No. You seriously cannot fathom. He's like, if we don't watch this in IMAX, it is not good. And and he's like, I have to pay the extra like $5-6.
No way. No way.
He is such a strict.
Like, I'm a fucking snob. I'm a film snob. I love.
Really?
But I like.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Well, we're complete opposites because I'm like.
This guy has seen Batman versus Superman probably a million times.
No way.
Like, he can.
We're not gonna go into that's a whole different episode.
Oh my god! Yeah,
okay.
that is. Just letting you know, dude. Like
Here's my point.
this guy.
Yeah.
I the amount of times that I've woken up to, like to whenever Wonder Woman came up in Batman versus Superman, that soundtrack. The amount of times that I've woken up to that goddamn fucking thing. Not only that, in your fucking connection to your Bluetooth fucking speaker of the, like. It would do that every time. So, and I would wake up, because I'm a light sleeper, I would wake up constantly to, and I'm like,
you're like, so it begins.
So here's the point.
And we had a wall between us.
Here's the point that I bring up, right? Yeah. Is like, so, yeah, it broke my heart when the movie theaters closed down. It really shocked me when the NBA canceled their season. Mm-hmm. And everything followed suit with shutdowns. But
he pulls up 10 reasons why Batman vs Superman is a huge disappointment.
Oh boy,
as he should.
Can you not?
Can we go off each one?
No. Okay, so here's the point I'm bringing up is so you have.
I love you, Joey.
So you have that's funny. So you have these kids between the ages of 5. I would honestly argue 5 to 18 years old because high school is involved too, right? So you have these kids that are now going to their schooling, and my biggest problem is between the ages of honestly 5 and 11 years old. You have these kids going through their schooling programs, but they're online. Yes, is education important? Like inherent, like reading from a book, learning from a teacher, education important? Are you good?
Oh, I'm adjusting yours too. You're welcome. Sorry, no, I was just adjusting. Sorry, I was going to sit up. So.
Oh, I still make sure it wouldn't fall. So you have like learning from a book, learning from a teacher. That is important, 100%.
Yeah.
But I would argue what is just as, if not more important, what you're learning at that age is you're learning social skills. Mm-hmm. You're interacting with other kids. You're doing all these things, right? Your reward system is being, and again, it's marginal now because of the fact that social media is everywhere. Your fucking iPhone, Android is right here. You know, all these things that are very accessible. But your reward system is very much based off of other people. It's based off of other interactions that you're having, whether it's the other kids in class, things you find on a field trip, or your parents at home, family at home.
Hold on, side caveat. But could you argue that reward systems are naturally based off other people?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Right. So I'm saying, so you, as a child, your reward system for the most part, except for a very small margin, is based off of other people. But with this pandemic, and Lord knows how long this is going to carry on in some states, because every state is different, which is fucking terrible in my opinion.
It's frustrating.
But,
whoa. Is it terrible in the sense of I know, God damn.
Yeah, no, continue.
We're going out. But originally, it was put that the state has a choice, like originally, like, you know, fucking from the beginning, right? It's like, hey, look, like this is our boundaries, right? But every state can choose.
So
right?
I understand that every state has different infection rates, and that understandably will influence at the rate that things open up. But the problem that I'm presenting is that education across the board is going to be worse because of the fact that you're going to have kids that aren't interacting with their people. Their education for 8 hours a day is going to come from a fucking computer right there.
So
and
I have a lot to talk about this.
Yeah,
I also have a lot to
I have a cousin that's doing this.
So their education is coming from a computer. And I'm sorry, as a 23-year-old, I've tried to do online college, right? I've tried that 2 times already, and I just can't do it. I need to be in class learning from a person. Right? That's just how I am. I understand that other people can do college online, and I recognize that eventually I will more than likely have to do most, if not all, of my college online. But you're going to try to get a fucking 8-year-old to stay still in a single chair and look at a fucking screen? How, like...
Yeah.
That is so,
I think it's dependent on age groups. Like,
well, that's inherently counterproductive for these kids. And then what's the problem is that you're effectively stealing down to the hour, in my opinion. You are effectively stealing their ability to interact with other people, find out what it means to be not only themselves, but interact in a positive way. Because look, and you can take this in even politics with how our senators and our governors and our representatives treat our laws because of how they were raised. A lot of the influence these kids are going to have now is from their parents that were raised a generation, 2 generations behind them, and not going to interact appropriately with the generation that they're in. And whatever problems that brings, we'll have yet to see, but I would honestly love to find out. So 2020 was the year of coronavirus, COVID-19, right? I would love to see 2035, 2040, 2045, and look at this control group of kids and see how fucked up they are. Because you're stealing it. You're stealing things from them.
So what's interesting, what I have to say is that, and I'm trying to keep this quick, is that I'm related to, it's a cousin of mine that's had kids and stuff and whatnot. And I remember a lot of fond memories of like her growing up and everything else. But she has enough in her family. Doesn't matter the details. Basically, there's somebody that's in her teens, and she also has a brother that's in like less than 10, right?
Yeah.
And both of them are growing up during this time, right? And one of the things that I remember her talking about and everything was that how hard it is for her tween, pretty much, to grow up in this time, and there's been times that it's hard for her. And for me, somebody just with the beliefs that I have and stuff, I think that it's going to be more beneficial for us having this happen to us, because in the sense,
in specifically education or overall.
I say overall.
Overall, I agree with you.
Yeah. So overall, sure. so yeah. So don't get me wrong. Like education's gonna be rough because like there's been times that my cousin, whatever, that's like 8 years old or whatever, there's been times that they're like, okay, well, we got to wait for everybody to sign on. And the problem that they're having is that, some of these people are, they have to work, right? They have to go in. They're medical or law enforcement, whatever. So they have to go in. So it's not they can't, right? They cannot, like, sending their child to public school is like their only option they have. So now that they can't, they're expecting this like 7-8-year-old kid to sign in at the right time to the Zoom meeting, and it's like you're expecting this kid to be twice as old as he is, right? Like that's pushing it for somebody that's 15, 16 years old, right? And so basically what I'm saying is that like it's going to be interesting because you're going to have all these different dynamics of the people that were able to stay home and be able to work from home, that were able to help their kids through all this stuff. And you're going to have the dynamic of the other people that didn't have that support.
Huge education gap.
So I agree with that. Okay, I'm sorry. It's like a slight intermission. I'm about to fucking piss my pants.
You're
so
good.
We'll be right back.
You'll be good.
I'm just going to edit it. The editing, I'm just leave everything rolling because editing on the other side is really fucking easy.
That's fine.
If you have to P2,
yeah, I'm all for an intermission.
All right, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
We'll break here. And cut. We're talking about the basically an education gap that's going on right now.
I wanted to say something because this is my own personal life. So I didn't have the traditional high school.
So like when you hear yourself kind of like in your headphones, that's when you're in the zone.
Okay.
Right there, perfect.
Right
you hear
there.
that?
Yeah.
Cool. Go.
All right. So So I didn't have the traditional high school experience of being in a public school. I bounced around schools a lot, and I did online school. And since, I was doing the online school before it was cool with COVID and everything, I'm actually nice. But due to the online school, I was able to graduate high school in 3 years. So there is, if you have the drive to do it, there is potential that, you can do good things with it. But at the same time, if you're not driven and you don't care about it, you can also fall off that gap.
But also, how old were you when you're going to this online school? The age range.
Age range? 15, 16, so.
Okay, exactly. So I could almost understand that, right? Because so for me, between the ages of 14 and 18, literally every summer, and he can attest to this because me and Dom had to do it. Every summer during high school, we had to take an online class because we were failing our fucking math classes. I was just dog shit at math, and so was our friend Dom. So,
Told you you're stupid.
yeah,
not smart,
so,
strong.
So I had to do it out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
I just knew because there's a huge stigma around the term called the super senior, which is you have the 4 years of high school. And if you stay for an extra semester or more, you're a super senior, right? And that's a huge, like.
But it was probably more of a positive thing because it motivated you to not.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you were a super
Sorry,
senior, you were a fucking leopard, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I did that out of necessity. I was like, I don't give a fuck what's gonna go on right now. I'm not gonna go super. And thankfully, I didn't by a little hair. And it's a story that I told on episode 3 of my buddy Jet. By an absolute hair, I didn't become a super senior.
Because didn't you get 2 points higher than you needed? On your
so I
final?
needed a fucking 47 on my fucking geometry final in high school, and I got a 48. Yeah, I firmly believe this. Shout out again to fucking Major Surrogate. I firmly believe
Major Surrogate, he hated me.
I'm
not gonna lie.
I firmly believe that he did that because he knew how hard I worked. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
My point is okay, I can understand someone in your age range having a drive to do an initial drive. But the point I'm trying to bring up is if you're between the ages of fucking 5 and 12...
No, it's nearly impossible.
No, you will not have that drive. Because you don't fucking know what's going on around you. You don't.
Yeah.
So, again, the last thing I'll say about it is A, it just saddens me more than anything. And B, I would just love to see, again, in 2030, 2035, 45, 40, I would love to see what happens with these kids that were adolescents during the time of COVID and if it affected them at all. Because we really don't know how long this overall lockdown is going to take. I had my friend of mine on, Bella. I had her on a couple weeks ago. I haven't published her episode yet, as of now. But I had her on, and she brought up that, these lockdowns, and specifically in Mexico, can be expected to carry on for at least 4 to 5 more months. Mm-hmm. And with Grisham, I'm inclined to...
Absolutely. New Mexico is definitely probably going to be the last one.
And I'm inclined to believe that. Not really, however, but in addition to that, you look at Europe right now, they're having a new fucking strain of coronavirus right now.
Yeah.
So my question, first of all, is it COVID-19 or is it another strain of coronavirus, right? Mm-hmm. Is it a mutated COVID-19? A. B, what does that mean for everybody else?
Because another important question is, I know they're just producing this vaccine, but if there's this new mutated gene, how well is that going to work? And still at the same time, the vaccine's so experimental that we still don't know.
See, not only that, and I'm going to be completely honest, this stems from my just general, not absolute, not true, but my general hate for the government. I could pretty much say that I genuinely hate our government, the way they're doing things right now. I don't trust the vaccine. And it's not because the nurse fainted or because these things happen in London.
You're afraid to get chipped.
No, not even that. They got
afraid to have half your face drooping.
Yeah, they got Bell's palsy in fucking London, whatever it was. My whole thing is yes, I understand that it was easier to make because it's a fucking RNA vaccine. I understand the whole world had cooperation, quote unquote.
Continue.
Okay. So like Bell's
Don't
palsy,
get sidetracked.
yeah, Bell's palsy, and that all that stuff over there, and that the whole world may or may not have been in cooperation. But dude, if I can remember 5 months ago that China and Russia at a minimum were giving us false information, and now they are supposedly in cooperation of creating the vaccine, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And you guys know this. I don't know if you know this, but I know you and Joey know this. I had COVID, and I beat it.
Huh.
And the thing is COVID.
And shout out to him for getting COVID because we played a lot of video games. So.
Yeah. So
shout out for distracting the both of them while doing League.
But yeah, now I understand that with people like me, because I was, for the most part, I was asymptomatic. Mm-hmm. Right? Now I understand that more than likely I'm going to have lingering health problems, right? My lungs are probably going to get fucked up. My heart might have some problems. So my immune system might have some problems, so on and so forth. And that's yet to be seen, right? That's years down the road. But what I do know is that I had it and I beat it with absolute ease, right? And let's
also say like sort of relatively, because like I remember talking to you some and you're just like, damn, like you obviously had something, right? And like I'm just saying that in the sense of like, you know, because both me and him are both medical field and blah blah blah.
We'll explain that later.
Yeah, and you will have the highlight for that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that like in a sense, like it was relative, because it was definitely something that, I mean, you knew that, like you and your girlfriend talked about it, and it's like, hey, look, like I'm sick, right? Like,
well, because
I'm sick.
the only symptoms that I had is for like maybe 48 hours, maybe a little more than that, I had a migraine, and then my lungs are fucked up anyway. That's a whole different story.
But you were also like nauseated, like when you were walking.
Yeah. So what would happen is like I would get a headache, because I knew that my symptoms in relation to everybody else, or relatively to everybody else, were very minimum. So I got to a point where I was like, okay, my symptoms are next to none. I'm not leaving my condo. But what I'm going to do is I stopped working out. I obviously stopped podcasting. I didn't even come in the garage.
Oh.
Like, I kept this place fucking... Nope. I disinfected it while I was infected. Mm-hmm. And then after I got uninfected, I was fine of it. I re-disinfected a million fucking times because I want to continue doing this.
Yeah.
Right? So I got to a point where I was like, okay, I have minimum symptoms. The only real sickness I get is strep. And I'll get that. I got that literally every year of my life until I turned 21. And so I was like, okay, I know I'm susceptible to a certain disease. It's not a coronavirus, thankfully, but I know I have the ability to be susceptible to that. So I'm going to do literally fucking nothing, right? I spent my time laying in bed, and the only time that I was vertical was taking a shower or getting food from the kitchen. Other than that, I was laying down, I was hydrating, doing all of these things, right? And I think that helped mitigate some of the symptoms. But again, like you brought up, I had a headache, and then whenever I would stand up about, again, 48 hours, a little bit more, I would get a little nauseated. But that nausea would only last for 30 to 45 seconds. And I was like, fuck. And I would kind of just like get through it and move on with my day. But the point I'm trying to bring up is like, I recognize that because I was, let's say, 90% asymptomatic, I still had it and I could have given it to other people, and that fucking sucks, right?
And just real quick, like, I mean, didn't you, because of that, like, didn't you have this during Thanksgiving?
Yes. So I didn't see my girlfriend. Like, God bless her fucking family and her. They brought me food, all these things, you know, but the fact of the matter is that...
I brought you food too.
Yeah, you brought me food on Thanksgiving. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, the fact of the matter...
you were working, Yeah,
I was working.
The fact is that I very well could have and probably either gotten it from her family or given it to her family, right? So, but again, the big fear that her and I have been facing together is that her immune system isn't great, her mom's immune system isn't great, her grandmother and one of her aunts, they're not great. Mm-hmm. So what if, we give to them and they end up fucking dying?
Yeah.
Like, that's the fear that we were facing.
Yeah.
Right? But let's assume, because they did get a little bit sick when I got sick. Let's assume that it was COVID. Okay. Well, I'm looking at that control group, and they didn't get sick. And they didn't fucking die. So.
And on top of that, side caveat,
Yeah.
but you were able to beat it without having a vaccine.
But see, I'm also. I'll get to that.
Okay.
But like, the reason why I bring up her family is because they had reasons to be very much hospitalized or killed from COVID, but they fucking didn't. I genuinely do not think COVID is as bad as everyone, or as the media wants you to believe it is. A. B. If you look at me and my lifestyle, especially the lifestyle that I've adopted.
It's called pity.
Because I pretty much...
Alcoholism?
No, not even alcohol. It's just
right.
straight pity.
But like, I've always been a relatively healthy person. Like, yeah, I went through a really alcohol-filled period between like the back end of 2017 to the end of 2018.
The apartment years.
Yeah, the apartment period in the beginning of the house that me, him, and our buddy Evan had. Right.
Apartment. Oh,
yeah,
man.
but
And
like,
the house,
but like,
what a
especially, but I've always kept myself in shape. Right. I've always like, I haven't really gotten fat.
No, you look pretty fit.
Yeah, like, but especially now, right?
Yeah.
So like, looking at me now, I started training for my bodybuilding in November. No, I'm sorry, in December. Carried it through. Shutdowns happened in about April or May. That kind of fucked it up. Now I picked it back up very heavily. But even through then, like, I'm not a smoker. I don't drink heavily anymore. I haven't really drank heavily in like maybe 2 years. Obviously I drink now, but like it's not to excess.
I mean, yeah,
Right.
you could literally like do this at like 30 times the speed, and I guarantee you, I've done like at least 5 to 6 the amount of.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't drink heavily anymore. I don't do all these things that hinder my health. And that was honestly when the first reports started coming out about coronavirus, right? My hope, and this is very morbid to say, but my hope was that this would have been like the medical community's version of 9/11. It's like, okay, guess what? We've got a virus that goes around and it attacks your respiratory system, A. B, if you're a smoker, if you have high blood pressure, if you are overweight, if you keep a bad diet, if you do these general things that fuck you up, you're at risk. Now, to the general credit of the populace, if you go on Instagram, Facebook, all these things, I saw all these fitness enthusiasts, influencers rather, they were putting up home workouts. Like this one guy, I forget what his name is that I follow, but he was literally putting up exercises that you could do with a pots and pans. Yeah, it was fucking insane. And like a towel, right? It's good stuff. And like I remember seeing around the neighborhoods, people were running, people were doing these things, kind of like, oh fuck, my health matters. Like, yeah, your health matters. Taking care of your body matters. Don't get me wrong, I have my bad habits, right?
Everybody does.
I fucking love whiskey, I love caffeine, and I love dip. Like, these are just habits that I fucking have. They're not great, but they're not exactly the fucking worst either. So my point is, I'm not exactly a good case study for the vulnerable, but as far as the vaccine is concerned, dude, this is coming from the same government that hasn't fucking found a relative good cure for cancer. They haven't found the cure for fucking AIDS or HIV. This is also the fucking government that while you will allow states to legalize marijuana, you'll still keep people in a fucking cage. Let's be real. Jail is a fucking cage for people that are convicted with marijuana offenses. Right? This is the same government. I don't trust it. Like, I don't fucking trust it. And
the only thing I'll say about that is that, like, it goes back and forth between, obviously, because this is one of those things that is very influential and everything else between the state versus the legislative and everything else and the federal government and stuff. And obviously, like, it can't be federally mandated until most of the states agree with it. And we're getting to that point and whatnot. And it's like, that's why, like, obviously, when it first came into the rise and stuff of marijuana and all this stuff, and, like, fucking Oregon. Let's not even talk about that place. But, like, all of this stuff that, everybody else is doing. But like still, it's something that like at the end of the day, yeah, we can look at it at the surface, right? And I'm trying to say this really quick because I want this man to talk a lot because I know he has a lot to talk about, but still at the end of the day, it's very surface level, right? It is very surface level that a lot of us look at it. Because in the modern day and age that we deal with, right? We are constantly dealing with these jolts, right? And that's why headlines and media and everything else is like, oh my God, like this is this, that boom, boom, boom. And it like gets us our attention and we focus on that because it's a jolt, right? Because we're constantly striving for that energy, right? We're constantly striving to be able to relate to that. We're constantly striving for just that more energy, right? And then that's why like Instagram and Facebook and everything else and social media is so addicting because we can just keep scrolling to this stuff, right?
To a point. So here's why I agree with you. I agree with you that clickbait is effective. I agree with you that social media, mainly Instagram posts, are very attractive and they're very influential, whether it's memes, something very deadly, or something very sexual, right? I'll agree with you there. Yeah. But it's not surface level. It is very much seeped in. And here's why I say that. Because we can
all I would say is that like that's a great thing is that like most people will only understand it at the surface level, right?
Okay, understanding
at
the surface level.
Whoa.
What?
Because you can say understanding at the first, on the surface level, but for the most part, people are just going to skim over this article and then never look at it again.
That's the surface level.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So no. Yeah. The most of the populace will agree with it at the surface level, but not a lot of people are going to look into possible. See, and that's a shitty thing is that it started out years ago, really, as possible implications, but these possible implications that were like, oh, that'll never happen. It's happening, and then it continues to happen and pile up. Like, look, right now, it is not mandated to get the vaccine. Right?
Yeah.
It is not mandated. The military is not mandating it. Private companies are not mandating it.
No, it's completely voluntary.
However, I would not put it past any big institution. Honestly, I think the first one's going to be Amazon. I would not be surprised
versus
if Amazon.
Military, you think?
The Amazon. I think it's going to be Amazon.
Really?
I think Amazon.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna be one of the first ones, if not the first organization, to be like, let's say, I'll spitball April to June of next year, 2021. They're gonna be like, hey, listen. Yeah,
what a year.
They're gonna be like,
sorry,
hey,
like it hasn't even started, but still, what a year.
They're gonna be like, hey, listen. Oh shit. They're gonna be like, listen. If you want to continue to be in, let's say they put it out on Amazon on April 1st. They're going to say, okay, as of May 15th, right? So you got like 45 days out. If you want to continue to be an Amazon employee at any level, you must get the vaccine. I would not, and here's why I say that. Not only is Amazon one of, if not the biggest retail organization on the planet right now, they are 100% the biggest distributor on the planet right now. You can get their first-party products, which is some of the cord we're using right now, or a litany of third-party products, right? You're going to get that from Amazon. So their mindset, or at least their narrative, is going to be, okay, well, we have all these people that come in contact with all these products that get sent through all the fucking world. We want them vaccinated. And they're going to mandate it, and it's going to fucking ripple. And, like, right now, and even, like, this whole year of 2020, you're like, oh, the Civil War is going to happen. Civil War this, Civil War that. What humors me is the people that are genuinely calling for a civil war are the people that will most likely be the least effective in a civil war. These fucking morons who don't know their ass from a barrel, right?
Okay.
And I'm not. I'm not the most.
Yes. It's a trifecta of us.
I'm not the most tactically proficient. I will never claim to be that. But what I will say is that the people. And people that I know personally, people that I know that are proficient in war, let's be very blunt, in war, people that I know personally, they're like, no, I don't want to get into a civil war. No, There are so many alternatives to that, and I agree. So, and I genuinely think there is not anything that the government can push forward right now that will genuinely even look at a hint of a spark of a civil war, except for mandating a vaccine. Because at that point, you are forcing people to be injected with something. And the reason why I bring that, this is the last thing I'll say, and the reason why I bring that up is because you are penetrating someone. And if you want the greatest literature on the psychology behind penetrating someone, look up On Killing. Look up that book real quick. I forget the guy's
On Killing.
On Killing.
No, seriously. So
what a good title.
Yeah,
so
imagine that I haven't referenced it to him before.
Yeah, so there's a book.
I've also read it. Like,
so yeah. So
On
what's the
Killing
guy's
by,
name?
like,
Grossman. David Grossman.
David Grossman. Yep, that is who it is.
He's
Fucking
Lieutenant
Christ.
Colonel, retired Lieutenant Colonel.
Yep, retired. Yep.
He's wrote 2 books, On Killing and On Combat. I have not found On Combat, because I don't like reading ebooks. I like reading just physical books. I've yet to find On Combat. But On Killing is one of the greatest books on the psychology of warfare, and he has multiple chapters on the psychology of killing somebody, specifically being, okay, so you have someone that has the position of a sniper. They're using a precision rifle, right? They're killing from yards, miles away. Okay, fine. You have the mortarmen, right? They're just blowing people up.
Yeah.
Artillerymen, blowing people up. You have the riflemen, okay, buildings away, blocks away, whatever it is. But if you have the classic Civil War, World War I, World War II, and on riflemen, they had multiple instances where they were using bayonets or they were using their own personal combat knives, and they were getting so close to a person, they were penetrating with their rifle. It was akin to sexual intercourse because of the fact you were that close to a person and making penetration with that knife. So the reason why...
Real quick, just... Can you look up the statistic of how many people actually committed killings during that time? Because that's huge.
Okay,
that's one of the huge things he talks about.
So fine, you bring that up. So
continue,
he brings it up.
Please.
He brings that up.
During the Civil War?
Yeah,
any
no.
war.
On killing,
No, literally any war prior to the first Gulf War. Because the reason...
The statistics of how many...
So he brings that up
committed.
because of the fact... Have you read On Killing?
No, I've not read it yet.
Okay, so here's a point that he brings up. Is so you have kids our age, if not younger, fighting in these wars. And what happens is they are so... And I don't blame them. They're so scared of taking life and being in combat as what they'll do is... So let's say I'm aiming at him, right?
Yeah.
Logically.
I will aim either just to the right or the left or above him so that my section leader, my squad leader, whoever it is, they will think that I'm firing at the enemy. And this isn't just on the American side. This is on both sides. I'm firing at the enemy, but in reality, I'm firing just above them. And when, so let's say you have, again, just to break this down bare bones, first wave goes through a battlefield.
Yeah.
You have second wave go through. What they found is especially in the Civil War, they found that the second wave going through were picking up the left rifles of the dead first wave, or the first wave that just lost their rifle. They would pick up their rifles, and most of them were very, very close to fully loaded,
if not double loaded.
Exactly.
And it, it is so good. So
I haven't read the book, but
it's great. But I'm gonna say this only I'm only saying this because genuinely, I'm not gonna lie. It's mainly just been me and you, genuinely this podcast, and so Piersee, 100%. You speak your truth, and then you tell us how me and you met.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, I know this is bringing it back and stuff.
So let's do a layout for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right.
The damages of as long as you want to do it, dude. We got time. I don't care how long these fucking episodes are.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
The damages of social media in your eyes, and we won't respond to it. You've heard our points.
Yeah.
The damages of social media, the damages of imposing a vaccine, how you and Briscoe met. Because you two are EMTs in Alaska, from what I know, right?
Yeah.
That's how we met.
Exactly. So the damages of social media right now, all encompassing. The damages of imposing a forced vaccine, how you and Briscoe met.
Alright. So I think social media as a whole tends to be a double-edged sword. Like, it's good and it's bad. Like, don't get me wrong, it connects the world and everybody gets together, and that's, hunky-dory, that's amazing. But at the same time, it's bad because, at the same time we're close together, I feel like a lot of people struggle with it because they're further apart. I mean, that's really all I have to say about social media. Like,
right.
It's a double-edged sword.
So, all I would say is that social media is a tool.
But if it's not used correctly, then
Just like a tool.
yeah, exactly.
Right, you can run up and fucking gut a dude with a chainsaw, and obviously that's not the right purpose.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Or its intended purpose.
Debatable, yeah. But still, like, obviously a chainsaw was made because to be more efficient at cutting down trees, blah, 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 right? But still, like, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, it's a tool. At the end of the day, social media and electronics, everything is a tool. So, yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
All right, now I'm going to talk about vaccine, because, I mean...
That's exactly what he asked you to do.
Yeah, I know.
So
I'm working on it.
Lord forbid you do what he's asking.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so what are the problems of imposing a vaccine on a mass populace?
Oh, well, naturally you have the people who don't want to do it. And then therefore that creates a problem, because how are you going to force people to take a vaccine? I mean, yeah, you could have the police force come in and create martial law, but even then that's going to create problems. So if anything, it should be something that's not necessarily mandated, but recommended. Because, I mean, even now we have all these vaccines, the flu shot, the smallpox, all these vaccines. And there are still people who don't take it because they don't believe it. What are you going to do about those people?
And that's where they feel that the anti-vaxxers come in.
Exactly. So I think there's because I actually had this conversation with my aunt, like my blood aunt, a couple days ago. I believe that there is a very distinct distinction between a anti-vaxxer and someone who doesn't trust the COVID-19 vaccine. Not only because I'm in the camp of someone who doesn't trust the COVID vaccine, but because, look, if I ever, for whatever reason, if I had a kid, you better believe that kid's going to get the standard vaccinations.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't want my kid getting fucking polio.
No, that's fair.
Like, no shit.
No, that's fair. And I think...
But what I will say is just that because I don't want my kid getting fucking polio, right? Like, okay, cool. I'm just checking our levels real quick.
No, you're good.
Okay. Look, because I don't want my fucking kid getting polio, right? Or getting smallpox, or getting whatever the fucking actual or infections are that wiped out the, let's just say, primitive versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
If I had a kid tomorrow, I don't know if I completely trust the fucking COVID vaccine right now, because again, this is coming from a government that I don't trust, and I understand like all the world is doing it, but I just don't. I think there's a clear distinction between those who trust or don't trust the COVID vaccine and anti-vaxxers, because anti-vaxxers are a fucking cancer. I think questioning your government and occasionally telling your government to fuck off is a very healthy thing.
But doesn't it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Joey, you can look it up, but doesn't it say somewhere in the Constitution that we can question our government?
I mean, that's the whole point of our
That's
government.
the entire point of America.
Or the point of the government is to work for
No, you don't have to look that up. That's the entire Constitution.
Okay, sorry.
Is it okay for us to question government in the United States of America?
Sorry. Make Joey do something for once.
Josiah Piersee.
But, so, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make this like on the caveats, but like...
No, by all means, go for it.
You speak your piece, and then you can talk about how, like, me and you met. Because, like, obviously, like, the funny thing about this man is that, like, I sort of indirectly hyped him up a lot, and I was like, this guy is great. Because, as we talked about, like...
He's great, look at him.
Dude, that's so much pressure, because now I have to, like...
Shut the fuck up. Okay, so
fine,
basically, literally, like, we met, and I was like, this dude can be one of the boys, right? Like, I was like, genuinely, I was like, this guy is fucking, like, everything about him, like, blah, 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 right? And, like, I'm not going to talk too much, because it's going to, like, heighten his ego, and he's going to be really inflated. But still, like, genuinely, at the end of the day, like, this is like by far. I've spent over 3 years in Alaska because of where I've been working and stuff, because of my job and everything else. And like genuinely, I've been able to like every weekend just be able to like, hey man, and like that's why he said like I'm like versed in the Briscoe lore.
Yeah, I'm a lore master at this point. I'm like, like this is going on.
Yeah, and so because of that, like I give him like a huge shout out. That's the reason why. And so, sorry, you were saying about.
So finish what you want to say about the vaccine.
Oh, the vaccine.
Into how you two met.
Okay. Do you want me to go into how we met, or
Yeah,
do you
sure.
want? Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. Talk about the vaccine, and then immediately after that, just hit it.
So I think I would I'm probably getting so much backlash for this, but I would honestly take the vaccine if I didn't have to wear a mask. All this bullshit of 6 feet apart, we gotta have all this COVID stuff. If that all went away, by all means, fucking shoot me in the arm.
But would
we'll call it day.
the only thing I know I'm kind of building on this.
No, you're good.
But would you take that if you had to, like, carry around a valid form of identification showing that you had that? Because that in and of itself,
I
in
think
and of self, it sort of takes away your freedom, right?
I think
and
I
a
would.
lot of people are really radical about saying like, oh, look, this is the same coding that they had when people went to like Auschwitz and stuff, right? And like, obviously very radical, right, with that statement. But still, at the end of the day, if you're saying like, hey, you took the vaccine, you have this code, you're good to come in, right?
So here's the distinction between that, right?
And it gets very zesty.
Well, no, to answer his question real quick,
Yeah.
I think I would, because think about it. We have a driver's license. Driver license have code. We have a social security card. That's a bunch of numbers.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? Here's my distinction between a COVID, let's say a COVID code.
Let's call it a COVID card.
A COVID code and a driver's license number.
Yeah.
If you do not have a driver's license number, you will not go to prison. Mm-hmm. You will not be imprisoned. You will not be punished. Let's take it very down to the minimum.
Yeah.
You will not be punished. And I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Under this assumption that if they force the vaccine upon people, or they indirectly force it and they say, upon receiving a COVID-19 vaccine, you will get a certain code. And if you get the certain code or a designation number, you will get freedoms.
Yeah.
Right? Now, inherently, when you say that, you say, okay, you don't want to get the COVID vaccine. You're going to get all these things taken away from you, right? That's the inherent opposite.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. Because you don't punish people for not having a fucking driver's license number. Everyone has a social security number at birth.
Yeah.
You don't punish people for having a driver's license number, but when you start punishing people or imprisoning people because you don't have a fucking COVID vaccine, like, and 2 years ago, even a year ago, it would be like, oh, this is kind of radical. But this just seems like the next progression, right? And it just seems like it seems like if they wanted to keep going with the government having freedoms, this is how you continue that progression of restriction. And this is the snowball that I see turning into not even a civil war, a revolution. Because you have people that are just like, hey, like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, because like, if I were running the fucking show, right, and I've said this on multiple episodes, if I was running the show, I was like, hey, everybody fucking leave each other alone. Now, I'm like, just fuck off. Just stop. Like,
Get some help.
No, seriously.
Stop. Go see a psychiatrist.
No, like look, like humans.
Psychiatrist.
Look, I take very much from the ideology.
Fuck you.
I take from the ideology of an individual named Graham Hancock.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who he is, Joey, look him up real quick. Graham Hancock. He's a historian. And his ideology on humans and really psychedelic drugs and drugs in general is the individual has sovereignty over themselves. We already have laws against murder, arson, rape, thievery. We have laws against all this. Those are already in place. But his main argument is, look, if Coleman Briscoe wants to fucking smoke weed, or if Josiah Piersee wants to take a couple grams of mushrooms, or person X, person Y, exactly him, Graham Hancock. If these people want to do all of these drugs, fucking let them.
Yeah.
Right? You should have sovereignty over your own consciousness. Right now, obviously, drugs like meth, heroin, cocaine, crack, all these things are, and the multitude of others that I haven't named, they're obviously harmful to the self and to the consciousness, right? And those probably should be made illegal.
Have you heard my point of view about that?
I'll get to that.
So no, I'm just asking you. Have you heard?
Yes,
my point of view?
we've talked about it. But
Listen,
but here's the
he's
thing.
heard mine.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
He seriously needs to tell us how we've met.
In my opinion, again,
We're sidetracking so much.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
great. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, welcome to the life of the boys.
In my opinion, the individual, they need to have sovereignty over the. So the state should never tell you how to intrinsically and specifically lead your life. Of course, they just
sorry.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So, at which drugs and at which point? Because you were saying that the person has sovereignty over, their state of consciousness. So, at what point do you get to decide which drugs,
Yeah, sure. Sure. So my general rule. And again, I have a very.
Because your viewpoint, sorry for interrupting, but your viewpoint is very loosey-goosey that the person should decide, what they want. So my question for you is, let's say we have a heroin addict, we have a coke addict, and they say, yeah, rock and roll, coke's my shit. Who are you to decide that, you can't do that anymore because it's harmful for your body?
The cocaine itself comes from the coca leaf.
Right.
Predominantly in the Middle East.
Right.
So I would honestly argue that drug should be legal. Now I understand that drug leads to very, very harmful physiological issues, namely with the heart. I understand that, but also 95% of the people on coke are grown ass adults. Mm-hmm. And in the day and age,
I didn't mean to bring this up, but because originally I want Piersee to speak his side of the story, but I'm saying that look at where they are in stature, right? Because the people that get addicted to that are people that are put in a certain stature of life, right? They're
But who defines that stature?
No. It's stature as in it's the stature of America, right? There's the lower middle class and the high class.
I see what you're saying.
So I'm saying that most people in the lower class are people that succumb to those type of drugs and stuff, right? And they learn about those more because of people in the higher class. They don't hear about that stuff, right?
And
they don't.
Now, I disagree. They do hear about it. They just don't give a fuck. But my point is,
they don't give a fuck about it because of the stature that they're in.
Exactly. And these people that decide to do these, listen, right? So Oregon, they decriminalized every drug. Now listen, if I lived in Oregon, me.
Is that every drug or just some?
Yeah, look that up.
Yeah, look that up.
Look what they decriminalized.
I'm just.
But look, they decriminalized most, if not every drug. Now, if I lived in Oregon, I'm not gonna go fucking do heroin. I'm not gonna go do coke. I'm not gonna go do meth because I know what the fucking health, what the health warnings, what's gonna do.
Oh, here we go.
Fuck. All I'm gonna say is do you only know this because
look, Oregon. This is from CNN. Oregon has
what a valuable source.
The first state in the nation to criminalize the possession and personal use of all drugs. Now listen.
All drugs. Okay, cool. But still, at the end of the day, right? I'm very I'm only saying this really quick because genuinely we need to get across this, and we can come back to this absolutely. But I am very believable in the fact of you chose this decision for a sense, right?
I agree.
Yeah, and I'm very in the sense of hey, look, right? Like, you chose to shoot yourself up with the cocaine. You chose to take crocodile, blah, 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 whatever, decimethylmorphine, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? It doesn't matter, right? You're the one that ultimately decided, peer pressure or not, to smoke that joint. Peer pressure or not to even smoke that cigarette. It doesn't matter. Or at the end of the day, sit here in a podcast and drink fucking liquor.
Yeah.
That's, at the end of the day, is a drug, right? And the nice thing is about alcohol is that it's been around for so long that we understand everything about it, right? We understand the effects of alcohol. We understand the effects of, like, this is what happens if you drink this much. This is what happens if you drink this much, right? And we understand so much about it that we can be able to be like, look, this is healthy and this is not healthy. We can understand that, hey, we understand that, like, hey, the gray matter that we have inside our heads, at the end of the day, we are constantly, questioning our existence, blah, blah, blah. And this, oh my God, another story. But still, we're constantly questioning our existence, everything else. And so that's something else to break us from that, right? And only recently are we really delving into that cannabis, the marijuana, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right?
And that's by choice, by the way. Like, our government has had the resources to do that since the fucking 40s. They've had the resources.
But what's great, what's so goddamn great is that because it's been legal so recently, is that instead of it only being this lower class that's forced into that, and I say only forced in that because they have no other alternative to go into, we're seeing a wider variety of people that are taking this, right? So instead of seeing these people that are malnourished, that are not able to adequately, in a sense, process this drug, you're now seeing all of these people that are now in the upper class. You're seeing these people in the middle class. You're seeing these people in a wide spectrum of how they react to this drug, right?
So I would argue.
So what I'm saying is that, like, obviously, right? And I know I've been speaking for a second, but just hear me out. Like, I'm saying is that obviously something like decimethylmorphine, obviously something that is a skin-eating like it literally eats your skin away, right? What I'm saying is, like, with crocodile and stuff, obviously that's bad. But at the end of the day, like, we don't know the full aspect of who it affects from what variety of people, because the government has imposed us to believe in X, Y, and Z and what they originally placed. So I myself, and I know it's a very unempathetic way of looking at it, I'm all for it, right? If you're dumb enough to fucking shoot yourself up with fucking cocaine, then all for it. I will be there.
Cocaine.
I mean,
I understand.
There's many ways that you can do drugs.
Well, that's a whole side episode on itself. But
God damn it. But anyway, if at the end of the day, if you choose it, I'm going to take fucking crocodile. I'm going to take fucking LSD. I'm going to do all X, Y, and Z. Fuck it, doesn't matter. It's a learning experience for everybody else, right? And it's because it's illegal and it's the environment that we're in. I believe personally that it's something that, hey, look, I understand that this is what's happened to our forefathers. Doesn't matter what else. It's something that, hey, look, it's not something that, instead of us looking at it in the single light, the single lens of, hey, only the people that are in the lower class, the people that are really suffering, those are the people that become heroin addicts and stuff, or whatever. Instead, we're looking at it as a whole, right? Because it's offered to everybody. Then we can see the true aspects of it. We can see people that were bodybuilders being affected by it. We can see people that were really big vegans, or we can see all these different people and the aspects of it as a whole. And then we can be like, hey, look, like, and this is, again, all hypothetical. At the end of the day, we can look at it and we can be like, hey, look, like, genuinely, cocaine may not be something good for people of high stress environments, but it may be good for somebody that, like, hey, just needs something. Again, hypothetical, because we don't know. And that's my point. And, like, that's why I love medicine and everything else, and that's why I love the craft of medicine, because it's ever arcing, right? It's always a practice, right?
Well, at the same time, medicine, side caveat, but good. Medicine is also very subjective. Like, it's based off of the patient. So at the end of the day, we may have two identical patients who are dealing with the same thing, but their treatment might be entirely different, just based on how crazy the patient is.
No, I'm telling you, it's like bloodline and everything else. And so I mean, I'm trying to tie those all together, because I know, like, this got very political very quick. Because
Good.
Good. And it's good, and then also bad, like, because at the same time, like, there's a lot of funny things to be talking about, and like, my life
Well,
is a
we can
joke.
talk about funny things. We have stories for
Yeah,
days.
we have stories. And to tie this all up, I'm just saying that, like, there's a lot of views, and I hate to say it, the only thing that will come with it is time.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest views about, like, nihilism versus existentialism. I can never say it right.
Existentialism.
Existentialism, right? But before we get into that, do you guys? I talked for a while, and I apologize. I know.
No, you're good. You're good.
But do you guys?
That's why I have this platform.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, bitch. Fuck you, Vargas. By the way, that's literally something that I would always tell this man before I go to sleep is fuck you, Vargas.
Well, literally,
anyway,
we had a poll before we even did this podcast of like what we're going to talk about, and fuck you, Vargas was the thing both me and him voted for. So
Here's my thing that I say what you said. So the first thing about the high class not really knowing, it's a very accepted trope that businessmen and business executives and CEOs all do cocaine to stay awake. And frankly, I get it.
I mean, some of our prior presidents have.
For sure, political leaders, because those guys run 18, 20-hour days.
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
fucking shit.
Absolutely.
A. B, I agree with you. And I get to every rule in life, there is an exception. However, the general belief that I have is if you decide to do these drugs that you know have a high addictive rate and will fuck you up for life or the foreseeable future, and you still decide to do it for whatever reason you've either put yourself into or been put into, that fucking sucks, dude. Life isn't fair. That fucking sucks. Life isn't fair for the same reason that I wasn't born, or none of us in this room were born into a Fortune 200, 100 family that has billions of dollars that will never have to work a day in our lives. Right? Life is unfair for the same reason. And life is unfair for the same reason that I was born in America, that you guys were born in America, and we weren't born in fucking Africa. Right? Same fucking reason. It's a fact. Nobody talks about it, but it's the truth. Right? So that's my second thing. But like overarching, the general belief that I have is that if it comes from the ground, it's good for your body in moderation.
but that's the key word, moderation, right
moderation. And now, and the problem with drugs is that inherently they can become addictive. And you need to recognize, again, you need to take it upon yourself to be like, hey, do I have an addictive personality? Do I even have addictive tendencies? Does my family have addictive tendencies? Is alcoholism, that's why many people bring up, granted I haven't looked into it enough, but a lot of people bring up the idea that alcoholism is an addiction. It is a disease, right? And I am kind of inclined to believe that, right? Because it runs in the family. Alcoholism can run in the family. So you need to take it upon yourself to be like, hey, is alcoholism in my family? Is drug use in my family? If it is, and I'm not already addicted, I probably shouldn't put myself in those fucking environments. Sorry. Like, because look, I will be 110% candid. I've had the opportunity to do cocaine, meth, heroin, ketamine, fucking all these drugs that are horrible for you. I've had the opportunity to do them for free. I didn't have to put up money.
Yeah.
I had multiple opportunities because of these stupid people that I decided to involve myself with at the age of 17, 18, and 19.
Shout out to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah,
shout out, it happens.
Yes, because I was a fucking moron. And thank God I made it out of those situations alive. But guess what? I still didn't do those drugs because I knew how fucked it would make my life. Sorry.
But it's relative on the statistics that you know now.
No, it's everything's fucking relative. That's why I said every rule has a fucking exception. Yeah, no shit.
I love relativity.
Everything's relative to something.
I love relativity because
Is it time for me to change subjects?
No, absolutely.
So how did you?
It is, and because I don't want this caveat, I'm gonna go to the restroom.
Okay.
But continue.
Okay.
No, absolutely. Because absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Briscoe gotta take a pee break.
That's me.
Loser, weak bladder ass.
Yeah, that's me. I'm a loser.
Okay,
Keep
so
going.
how did you meet Briscoe?
How did I meet Briscoe? Well, it started with me originally graduating high school in 3 years, which ended unfortunately with a friend committing suicide. And due to the fact that he had seizures, and they couldn't figure out why, part of my goal of getting into medicine was trying to figure out why this dude had seizures. But unfortunately, I didn't do it in time, and he passed away. So after graduating high school, I immediately got my EMT license, and after that, I headed up to Alaska. I know, crazy story, bumfuck middle of nowhere, I know. But once I got out to Alaska, I realized this is a pretty cool place with not a lot of people and definitely a lot of experience. So I joined the Fairbanks EMT, emergency ambulance program. And I met Briscoe, who was part of the force, and through being up there for at least a year, we've worked on a couple calls together. And outside of being on calls, we get drunk on the weekends and hang out. And I know that's not that cool of a story of how we met, but it is what it is.
That's good of a story as any.
Yeah.
I would
To
argue.
think about it, somebody from buttfuck New Mexico. Was
And
also
I forgot,
at the same
to
time as,
add, I'm from Colorado, so I'm from the state above,
What
born
part
and
of-
raised.
What part of Colorado?
I'm from Highlands Ranch, which, if we have any listeners from Colorado, that's south of Denver. So
Denver's nice, dude.
So the nice thing is that what's really cool, and I know I'm just butting in and stuff, but because I just stepped out and it's been a while. But still, the cool thing is that for me and him, I was up there for give or take a year beforehand, working in the emergency medical department stuff, and then he just came out of nowhere, and we're just
I like this guy. He's pretty cool. Well, it all got started because, one, he has alcoholism, and I have alcoholism. I know it's terrible. It's terrible, but
you hate to see it.
you hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
On the weekends, during the summertime in Alaska, he would invite me to go fishing, and we'd go fishing with a couple of other EMTs, and we'd go fishing. We'd get drunk as pissed drunk, and we'd try to fish. And we wouldn't catch anything.
The nice thing about Alaska is that there's 24 hours of sunlight, so we'll be sitting there drinking.
Drinking.
It's 2 a.m.
2 a.m. and we're still fucking
the
going.
The sun's still up.
Yeah, I saw those Snapchat.
Yeah, absolutely, right? We're just chilling there, just drinking,
we're
fishing.
Yeah, we're still fucking going. And the best part is it's 2 a.m. We started at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we still fucking haven't catched anything. That's the best part.
Because we suck.
Because we suck.
Well, here's the thing, right? So, the best. Let's just to cover friendships, relationships that are more than platonic. The best unions, I feel, are bred out of absolute happenstance.
Absolutely.
That's
how we met.
That's how we.
So,
Yeah.
for instance, I'll make it brief, but the way that I met Springer. I know you know that story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys went to a party.
No, I've not yet.
Okay, so here's how I met.
You've heard a rough story about it.
Yeah,
Well,
here's-
It's summary.
Yeah, so here's how I met Springer. So it was right.
Have you had him on here before?
Not yet.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, I know. So it was about halfway through our senior year of high school, and Joey and Dom invited me to a little gathering they're having. And long story short, it was super sketch, and we decided to leave. And so me and Dom and Joey are dipping out, and I'm like, hey, didn't you guys have another friend here? And then on cue, I hear from the back, I just hear, and I'm like, and then I think it was Joey. He goes, yeah, that's our friend Elias. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So Dom and Joey go to the bathroom, and they're like, oh, shit, man, what the fuck? and Springer just puked and shit everywhere, right? So they get him together, they gather him up, and they get him, and they're dragging him through the hallway, and I see him just dragging this hunk of fucking meat through the hallway.
Shout out for him being upstairs right now.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to him that we're talking about it.
And I'll have him on. I'm having him on for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey Springer, my name's Noah. He goes, and he's like, fuck you, man. And they carried with them in the Jeep, and as tradition, as we were as 18-year-olds back then, we all woke up slightly hungover at Dom's grandma's house, and I was like, oh, so you're Springer? He goes, yeah. What's up, man? And he just kind of carries on, and that's just and we've been fucking
Friends ever since.
Amazing friends ever since. And I mean, when I met my chick, like I was at a point in my life.
Which one? Sorry. It's for relevance.
Yeah,
the most recent one.
Yeah, the girlfriend that I'm dating right now.
I'm just sorry.
No,
I've been through a couple.
Yeah, he's been for a couple of.
Yeah, I know. I've heard the stories.
Remember how we drove to Hobbs and stuff, and you passed out? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Good times.
So the girl that I've been dating now for a little over a year, amazing woman. I was at a point in my life last year where I was just like, you know what? I don't really want a girlfriend. Like, fuck this, right? Like, this is fucking dumb. And I was driving home, and I was like, you know what? I drove by the Barnes & Noble over at Louisiana, right on the East Side Mall. And I was like, you know what? I could fucking go in there. I want to buy a book. And I was like, I could go buy that book, or I could save money. Now, fuck it, I'll buy the book. And the long story short is that I went to the aisle, I saw her there, and I was like, fuck this, and I fucking went away. And I saw her again in the fucking Barnes & Noble, I was like, fuck this, and I went away. And then I went to the comic book section, and I had a little conversation with God, and I'm like, dude,
He was like, hey, you're gonna get laid tonight.
No.
You're like, all right, can do. Like,
no, the exact opposite, actually.
Oh,
the exact opposite. I was like, listen, man, this is my section.
He's in the comic book section.
Yeah,
right?
I exist.
Big nerd.
Yeah, there's no reason a woman as beautiful as her has any business in this section.
Yep.
Because I had seen her.
I remember this conversation.
And I had seen her in the movie section, which is like about a pace away. And I'm like, listen, man, but if she comes in here, I'll talk to her, thinking that she won't, right? I fucking finish my conversation. I go back. Not 2 seconds goes by, and she rounds the corner in the comic book section. I'm like, "Fuck, man!" So see, I go. I told.
Damn it!
Damn, so close.
Damn.
So I go talk to her, and it turns out our favorite superhero is Deadpool. I'm like, yeah, and so is every other female.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it's Ryan Reynolds. Like,
yeah, every chick wants to fucking ride Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
I get it.
And peg him too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
But International Women's Day. so is everyone else's. Yeah, I just said out loud, obviously, but in my head. And so we end up rounding the corner, and we're talking about like X-Men, and she just names off like 3 or 4 X-Men.
And you're just like, boing.
Yeah, I've never fucking heard of. And I'm like, oh shit.
You're like, don't mind me. I'm just gonna do this gorilla walk.
I need to go to the restroom so I can beat one off real quick.
Exactly. So yeah, and then now here we are over a year later. So like I think the best unions tend to come out of just absolute coincidence.
Yeah.
And absolute happenstance.
That would definitely describe us, because I heard about him before actually meeting him. A lot of people were like, he's kind of this piece of shit, but at the same time he's this
genuinely
good guy. And the best
for a year that I was up there like working
Toast.
and whatnot in Alaska, like I was known as like that, like genuinely, I was known as somebody that you just don't talk to. Like 100%, I was known as somebody you just don't talk to. And shout out to like 2 people to be able to be like, hey, look, like this is a genuine dude. Let's talk to him, blah blah blah, right? And everything else, and like I was able to like hang out at their house and stuff. But like for whatever reason, and like still to this day, like he's heard all of these stories and stuff. Still to this day, we don't know why the first year that I was up there, it was so rough for me. I don't know if it was fucking initiation. Who fucking knows at this day, because it was just stupid rough. And like, yeah, dude, it was fucking stupid. But like, yeah. So like, how we met? Go ahead. Like,
Well, we met because, people were like, hey, he's kind of like a piece of shit. Like, don't talk to him. And I was like, naturally, I'm like, I want to meet this guy. Like, generally, there's probably a reason why he's a piece of shit. And then he shows up and people are like, hey, like, fuck you, Briscoe. And people are like, hey, Briscoe, like, it's good to see you. And I was like,
yeah, because like at this time I was working with a different contract at this time, right? I was working in a different contract, so basically, like, I wasn't working for the main emergency department at that time. I was working with somebody else. So like, at the time, I didn't really do like emergency contracts. I was doing more like admin shit at the time, right? And I know it's very weird, but like up in Alaska, like it's just a different dynamic in that sense, right? Because like you have like the different dynamic of like, hey, these people are doing that, these people are doing this, and so on and so forth. And so because of that, like we're like, hey, like, like I was working a different dynamic, and because I grew up originally with those people, by the time that he started coming into the the group and everything else, and like the dynamic of all of us, we're like, hey, look, like this is just an extra side dude that we have on the side type of thing. And I remember showing up all the time, and it was just like really weird. And because of that, me and him were constantly like just chilling all the time, and it came to the point that eventually I was like, hey man, you want to like hang out?
Yeah.
And then
we went fishing all the time, like we drink alcohol, and then unfortunately he had a different contract, which he had to disappear for a year, and I had to figure things out on my own.
Yeah.
But then he came back and we hit it off, and I think we hit it off stronger than we did before.
Absolutely. Like, me and this man, we wore Mario and Luigi outfits. Just the hat and the mustaches.
And the gloves, don't get me wrong, the gloves.
And the gloves. And we wore these through
we
Lowe's.
stuck plungers on people's cars.
Yeah, to ultimately stick plungers on people's cars.
And drive around to Mario Bass Boosted.
Mario Bass Boosted.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
look it up if you haven't heard about it. Like Mario Bass Boosted. You don't have to look it up now because it's something that's more audio than visual.
Yeah.
But Mario Bass Boosted, that's what we played, and we drove through. And the best part is we drove through the same part of where we lived, the Sonic drive-through. We drove through the same Sonic drive-through.
Well, honestly, this got started because shout out to Ross Creations. He probably doesn't listen to this.
Yeah.
But if he does, by God, you have better things to do.
Okay, not to interrupt. Okay, so is it the first one on there?
Yeah. Well, that's
Mario
all
Bass
of them.
Boost. Yeah, so that's oh my God.
So click on it. Do me a favor, watch. So pause it. All right, scroll down and kick open the show more. Credits go. There's a song owner. I mean, imagine if we okay. So scroll up and then go on the audio on the YouTube link itself. Yeah, and kick it down to about a half. Play it. You can go about halfway in, so you can get an idea.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, pause it. That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
So anyways, he shows me this YouTuber, Ross Creations. Shout out to him. But
seriously, like if you guys have not seen like YouTube and you want to see some funny shit, look up Ross Creations, ROSS Creations. Ross Creations. He makes some great videos.
But anyways, his whole videos is sticking it's not the entire videos, but the main portion of one of his videos is sticking plungers on cars. So typical Briscoe goes, "Hey man, like I got this idea," and me being
shout out typical,
and me being the dumbass that I am, I'm like, well, I can't say no. So Sonic comes to Fairbanks. It's the new restaurant. It's a big hype. There's a line around the block. Like it's a big deal. Sonic. I know. Sonic.
Something that's normal for you.
Yeah,
fucking
no,
plebeians.
fuck off.
It's a big deal for us. Okay.
Yeah, it's big deal. But block
First
around.
ever. Yeah.
But line around the block.
Like I mean, like 20 cars plus.
20
cars plus.
And on top of that,
it's like at least a 30 to 40 minute wait.
Yeah.
For this shit, like a guaranteed 30 to 40 minute wait.
Okay, that's Sonic on a regular.
Yeah. And on top of that, the new GoPro 9 comes out. So I buy it because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. But I buy it and I'm like, hey man, you wanna hear a cool GoPro idea? You wear the GoPro, I drive the car, you plunger their window, and we drive off. At some point, I'll have to send you
And we did it.
And we did. Yeah, we did it
Multiple times. Multiple times. Each one of these guys can vouch for it. We literally did, and the reactions we got.
I wish I had the GoPro on me because
Yeah.
I'll
Oh my God.
That's it.
I'll have to send you the video sometime.
I
'cause
think it's a low key misdemeanor, but continue.
but it's fantastic. The video is fantastic.
What factual evidence you have, Chief?
No. We gotta get to the best part of the story. So, I'm like, us jumping out in hoodies is way too threatening. I was like, what would make this less threatening? If we dress up like Mario and Luigi. So Halloween rolls around.
Because we're, plumbers.
Because we're plumbers.
Yeah.
So Halloween.
We're trying to fix the traffic jam.
Yeah.
I.e.
So
the jam, right?
Anyways, so Halloween rolls around, and the one Halloween store in Fairbanks opens up, and I'm like, we have to go.
Yeah.
Like, guaranteed we have to go.
Absolutely.
And we paid, what was it, $25
A piece.
for a mustache, a hat, and a pair of gloves.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we spent the rest of the day and the prior days following driving around listening to Mario bass boosted music and sticking plungers
Bass
on
boosted.
bass boosted, sticking plungers on people's cars, and
Yeah.
it was less threatening because we're Mario and
Dude,
Luigi.
I will never forget walking through Lowe's. And we're like walking through, I'm Luigi, he's Mario.
Mario.
And we have our because it's coronavirus, right? We put our masks on and we put our mustaches on the outside of our fucking masks, because it's, COVID. And we're wearing the gloves and stuff. And I just remember walking down the aisle because we're trying to find plungers, logically. And
They're like
we're
$2
trying to
a
find.
pop.
Yeah, well, thank God. And we're walking down the aisle, and some dude turns a corner and he's just like, fuck it, you guys won. And we're like, I don't know what we won, but sure. And this is a worker at Lowe's.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you guys won. And we're like, sure, dude. And we're just walking through. I'm wearing a Luigi hat. He's wearing a Mario hat. Mustache and all.
Yeah.
With the mask on and stuff.
Gloves
and the
too,
gloves.
gloves too.
Yeah, don't forget the gloves. And we're just walking, just that. Like, I'm dressed as I normally am. With I had like a fucking, like a sweater on. And he had a sweater on too. And just like that. Like, just like this. And it was hilarious because we got so many interactions and just us dancing in our cars, vibing, having a good time. Like the amount of people that just enjoyed that shit was fucking amazing.
So one of my favorite stories from a fucking department store. So my buddy Kobe, who I had on, I think like episode 4, really great episode. Massively underviewed compared to my other episodes, and I get why, maybe because of the audio, but like it's a genuinely good episode. Well, a story that he tells is because he works at a home improvement store. Let's put it that way, right? He works at a home improvement store, and so what ends up happening is, so he's fucking tatted up, right? He's got sleeves, leg pieces, chest pieces, back pieces. He's got fucking everything except for a neck, head, and fucking
Imagine being tattooed.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that. So
Yeah, you wouldn't know, would you?
so he has all these fucking tattoos, and then one day, a couple of years ago, he decided, you know what, fuck it. I want to say it's on his right arm. He's like, fuck it, I'm gonna get a blackout. And so he blacked out his entire arm except for like a butterfly on his forearm, and it looks fucking sick. Like, it looks good for everything else that he has. Well, he's working at this home improvement store, and this older gentleman, and like, God, dude, like, it's like you don't think these stories are true until you hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
This older white dude wearing fucking overalls and a MAGA hat walks up to him and he goes, "Why did you color in your arm?" And my buddy Kobe goes, "Well, it's a tattoo. I decided to tattoo and black out my arm. And it's the thing people do. Some people." And he goes, "Oh." And mind you, Kobe's Caucasian. And he goes, "Oh, well, did you do it because you hate white people? And you hate the fact that you're white?"
Do you really want me to go into this story?
Like what the fuck?
Do you
like,
remember?
what the fuck do you say to that?
Yeah.
Do you remember one of the first gifts I gave you?
Just walking the way. Yes.
Like, do you want me to go into this?
Yeah, no, by all means, go for it.
Oh boy. Okay.
Was it a swastika? Were you just like,
So
here you go?
So here I am. I'm living in the teepee at this time, right?
Was it robbed or not robbed?
No. So this is after it was robbed, right? And I was like, hey, like,
I'm especially sure.
I need to see my boys, right? And so I come down, and this is at the time that he's still engaged, right? He's still living with the person that he was engaged with and stuff. And I'm like, I need to come down and see him, right? Because, like, it was like my release for him. And I only came down to see him for the weekend. And I was like, you know what I can do? This guy's not making that much money. So I'm going to flex on him by buying him not only a birthday gift, but I'm going to spend over $300 on Legos.
Yeah, I remember the story. As soon as you clicked it, I was like...
$300. $300
Yes, sir. I remember the
Legos.
story.
Yeah, on Legos, right? Just to spite this dude, right? Just purely for the fact of that.
Wait. I think we got to pause because we got to explain why you're so spiteful.
No.
That's a whole story in itself.
Shut the fuck up. We can explain this afterwards.
All right, fine,
because this is a story in itself.
Fine.
Because I was like, hey, I'm buying this stuff, right? I go through the line and I look relatively like I look now, right? But at the time I had like a drug rug on and like fucking jeans and cowboy boots. The mohawk was still there and everything else. And I was driving a fucking California squat Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, 1994 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with no fucking front bumper, right? And I'm like, you know what? This guy needs some swastika cupcakes. And so, because we watched, what was the movie?
I just got canceled.
What was the movie?
So here's what happened. So,
What's the movie? Come on.
Yeah, a very short version of it. I forget what movie it's called, honestly, but it's with Daniel Radcliffe. Look up Daniel Radcliffe, white supremacist.
Yeah.
And it's a very general.
I know, it's very general. Yeah. But
the movie is.
But wait,
the movie is where Daniel Radcliffe infiltrates a white supremacist group. And I just started getting to know this guy, and he started to play a really fucking. Imperium.
Yeah, Imperium.
Imperium.
Yeah. So basically, what it's about is a Daniel Radcliffe. Basically, he's a dude that infiltrates a white supremacist group, and then he like infiltrates them from the inside out, right?
Oh wait. Is this kind of like side caveat?
Fine.
The new movie that, well, not so new. I believe it came out in 2018. Black Klansman.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But he does it in person. But the guy in Black Klansman does it over the phone.
Oh, okay.
And then he sends Adam Driver.
So the fun thing about this story,
no,
right, and why this compounds so well is because I remember watching this video with Vargas. Noah, it doesn't matter what the fuck you want to call him. I watched this with him when we were both roommates together, right? We watched Imperium together. And I remember joking around with him, right? I remember joking around with him this whole time and like low-key convincing him that I was a white supremacist because I used Raton as like a building block for this, because Raton, if you ever go there, the International Bank of America, which has now been under new leadership, if you look at the highest structure in Raton, New Mexico, it has swastikas at the top of it, right?
Their buildings, not only the bank, but some of their buildings still have swastikas on
it still does to this day. Right?
Well, also,
have
you looked in a mirror? Like, it's not hard to go white supremacy.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah. No, that's gonna come out on it. But this is all built to it, right? And this is all stuff that I slowly fed to him. To build it up to him, right? And not only that, but there was a little swastika mine. It was a coal mine outside of Raton, New Mexico, and that's one of the main reasons why that Raton became Raton, right? It was called a swastika mine. Just like literally, that's what it was called. And I used all this as cannon fodder for me to feed to Vargas to convince him that I was a white supremacist, and I'm definitely not at all. But still, like
that was so convincing.
Make that very clear.
Yeah, super convincing.
I know, but still, I'm. Life is a joke. I'm only here for the lull. So, anyway, I'm just saying this because it's hilarious and it's built up for the end of the day. And so I fed this all to him in the middle of the movie and everything else. And the whole time he got more and more and more uncomfortable with it, as you should be, right? And so I built it up to the point that I was like, I'm coming down on his birthday, right? He's living with somebody that he's currently engaged to. And I'm like, how can I top this, right? I'm thinking about all the ways that I can make this great. And I'm like, well, not only one, like, obviously I'm going to pay him because I'm living with him and everything else. And this is like, time for me to enjoy time with him. I was like, hey, one of the scenes is they turn the corner and this chick made all this pan of cupcakes, right? And she's like, hey, I made cupcakes. And they're all cupcakes with swastikas on them. And I'll never forget that scene because immediately afterwards, she's like, what the fuck? Like, he was genuinely distraught with that. And I was like, I'm keeping this in the back of my mind, right? So here I am, right? I drive down to fucking Albuquerque, Mexico in my fucking shitty ass fucking 1994, 1993 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, and with the California squad and everything. And I go to Walmart and I fucking buy some like red velvet cake with white frosting cupcakes, and I buy some because obviously you can't request swastikas put on some cupcakes. So I buy some fucking black food coloring on top of that. Plus I buy him some fucking Batman Legos. And I'm like, you know what? So this is cool. So I go into the parking lot, right? I go into the parking lot and I'm like, hey, I need to draw these swastikas on before I meet up with him, because he's like, hey, we should meet up at a Taco Bell. And I'm like, fuck. So I'm not meeting up with him at his apartment. So I was like, okay, cool. I met like 3 or 4 like.
It's on. If you're looking forward to Joey, it's on the like the main city in the city.
So yeah, it's gonna be like 2nd Street, Raton America, International Bank. It'll be on Cook and 2nd Street if you want to really reference it. So not that we're trying to find a video of it, but also like I lived there for literally like 18 years of my life. So you're gonna want to scroll up because it's gonna be off of I-25. Yeah, Joel.
You can tell your story.
Joey's
a pro.
Hey, I think that's it right there.
Look for Cook Avenue.
International Bank.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
International Bank. That's not it. That's across the highway. Go to the side. So you're gonna zoom in, go to the left. Yep. Go to the left. Go to your left. Because where are you at right now? Yeah, that's 2nd Street, but that's also the section that cuts right into the underpass. So go a little bit south. So you're gonna look for 2nd and Cook.
You guys keep going. I'll look for it.
So yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I continue.
so sorry. So I'm there in a parking lot, right, outside of Walmart, right, and I am looking like a complete delinquent, right, because I have jeans on, I have a plaid shirt, I have a mohawk, I'm driving a Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with a 1994, the front bumper's missing, it looks like a sack of shit, I have an AR in the back because, you know, it's fucking America, blah, 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 right, and so because of that, I'm like, hey, like, because I'm all for making the point, right, dude?
Yeah, so legit, there it is.
Yeah, that's where it is, right?
It's called
And so-
Pink Raton now.
So yeah, it's changed, right? But those are legit swastikas, because if you guys didn't know,
Yeah.
Hitler.
No way.
Hitler, whenever he took the swastika, he turned it 45 degrees.
Slightly canted.
Yeah, because it's originally a piece.
It's originally a peace symbol, right?
Yeah.
And the swastika mine and everything else was originally, that's how it looks. Is it looks at that way, right? And it's so great because like it blew my mind that I literally grew up around that and I didn't think it as such a fucking hate symbol or anything else, because like I drove by that, like that's the turn you take to my house. You take that turn and blah blah, you go some other fucking direction. But that's like an indistinctive fucking turn you take to go to my place, right? Many of you guys have passed by that place before to go to my parents' place, where I originally like grew up and everything else. And that is literally the biggest biggest building in Raton, New Mexico, is the International Bank of America, and I know it's under like new people own that stuff to this day, but still, anyway. I'm sitting here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I bought these cupcakes, these red velvet cupcakes with white frosting, and I bought black frosting on top of it, and I was like, I need to make a point, right? Like, I need to make a point. So I sit there, and I'm like, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna draw some swastikas on these cupcakes, right? And I'm sitting there in the parking lot, right? And I'm like, I need to draw these swastikas, right? And me being the dude that I am, I should have parked further away, but at the same time, I didn't. So this family rolls up, right? This family.
That Cole grew up in the OJ case too. I should have parked further away.
So this family rolls up, And I'm like drawing as fast as I can because I bought like at least 2 dozen of these things. So I'm drawing as fast as I can. Never thought in my life that I would say that I'm drawing swastikas as fast as I can, but here I am. In the back of my Jeep, I'm drawing swastikas as fast as I can. And this family of at least 3 kids and a mother and a father walked by me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop. So I stop and I'm like looking at memes on my phone and stuff. I'm like, cool. They walk by. They don't suspect anything. So I keep drawing, right?
You should have gone like slower.
Like
just
I
made
can,
eye
no,
contact the whole time.
dude,
like,
this gets so much better. This
Okay.
gets so much better. Trust me, for the love of God. So I continue this, right? And I'm like, I draw it through, and I get done with at least a dozen, and I'm working on my other half dozen, and I see this lifted Jeep Wrangler roll up in front of me, right? And I'm like, okay, whatever, who cares? And this dude just like, he gets out, and it's also like white Caucasian, and he's just like, and he's completely bald, right? And he's just like, hell yeah, brother. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm just sitting there like, I'm like what, right? And he's just like, hell yeah, brother, that's what I'm talking about, like, you know, like power to the people and stuff. And he's like,
Jesus.
and I'm obviously not going to do everything that he gave me. Like, I understand, but he's like going like hell yeah, brother, and like stuff like that. And he's like, fuck this, fuck that, and like, again, it is. I was completely distraught about that, and he's like, that's what I'm talking about, like about time that more people are rising up with me. And this dude had a Jeep Wrangler with like a fucking Confederate flag and like all kinds of stuff behind it. He's like, yeah, fuck these people, they don't understand what it's about. And he jumps in his Jeep and he fucking just drives away. And I'm like, I need to draw these quicker. So I draw these quicker, and I get done, and I meet up with him. I meet up with Noah Vargas and one of his friends outside of a Taco Bell, and I'm like, boy, do I have a story for you. And because this literal white supremacist somehow met with me, because he somehow saw me, like, and mind you, like, it wasn't like I was doing this in like clear day. I was doing this behind my seat in my Jeep Grand Cherokee, like trying to keep it hidden, because I was only doing this as a subtle joke in reference of that movie from like years before. But this dude somehow saw me, and he was like, hey man, like, you know, power to the people, you know, white power and all this stuff. And he just kept chanting this stuff, and I was like, and I was just completely flabbergasted at it. And still to this day, I still delivered the swastika cupcakes to his doorstep.
Yeah, I thought that was fucking hilarious. But one thing I do kind of want to bring up is like, so and it's kind of come up back during the presidential debates for very clear reason. So the Charleston incident happened, and for like the person under the rock, whatever the fucking Charleston incident happened, people got fucking ran over in a crowd, and there were a bunch of white supremacists there. And when Trump addressed the situation, he said there were good people on both sides, I assume there were people on good sides, whoever it was. So he basically validated the white supremacists, and the white supremacists turn around, and I forget what fucking newspaper they have, or what news thing they have. Maybe you can look that up. But they were like, they basically said, okay, Trump said there were bad people on both sides, or good people on both sides. Trump didn't alienate us. Trump didn't say anything bad about us. He's saying a lot of hate went to Antifa as well. Fuck it, we're in the right. And then when you flash forward to the presidential debates, now obviously at this point, Biden has been named president. Like, he won the fucking initial election. He has been voted in by the Electoral College and Congress. Like, they have all accepted Joe Biden as president. However, I really don't know what else to do. But in one of the debates, Trump got challenged by Biden. And Biden was like, denounce white supremacy. I think we actually talked about this in our first episode, right, Joey? Yeah. He was like, denounce white supremacy. And Trump wouldn't do it. He wouldn't flat out say, I denounce white supremacy, bad. White supremacy is bad. And Biden went on this rambling. He's like, what would you say to your supporters? What would you say to your blah-da-da-da-da? And then he said, specifically, what would you say to the Proud Boys? And Trump leaned into the mic and he says, be watchful and be ready. Look up Trump's statement, Proud Boys. Look that up real quick. See what he actually said. But he pretty much said one of those things directly to them. And then the Proud Boys, if you want to open up a different, if you want to look up the Proud Boys on Wikipedia, their new flag is Stand By. One of their things is stand by and be ready, like on their flag. But then,
sorry to interrupt. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go piss.
No, you're good. So then, on Trump's second debate or his second whatever it was he was doing, he like flat out denounced vice supremacy. But I take great conflict with forcing someone to denounce any kind of supremacy, let alone white supremacy. I take great, stand back and stand by. Yeah, that's what he did. That's what he said to him. I take extremely great conflict with that. And the reason why I bring this up is I feel like inherently, I don't believe Trump is a white supremacist. I really don't.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups.
We're watching a recap of the presidential debates, and Chris Wallace is asking President Trump to denounce white supremacy.
Stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland. Are you prepared to specifically do it?
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
Pause it. So right now, Chris Wallace just said, denounce white supremacy, and Trump replied with, I will and I'm willing to denounce it. However, I see that most of the problem, most of the hate is from the left. All right, press play.
There's no closed captions.
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name.
He's asking what to call supremacists.
Stand back and stand by, but I'll tell you what.
Pause it.
I'll tell you what.
So Chris Wallace has brought up the Proud Boys, and Trump says stand back and stand by. Now, the Proud Boys officially came out years ago, way before this happened, and they came out and they said they are not a white supremacist group. And in fact, days after this debate happened September 29th of this year, 2020. Look up Proud Boys and Black Lives Matter leaders, because the Proud Boys and BLM leaders actually came out and they were like, hey, we're not white supremacists, we stand with Black Lives Matter. I saw an article about that. Let's see if you can find it. Yeah, so this is from my state line. It says Proud Boys, Black Lives Matter leaders meet to denounce white supremacy, and this happened in Salt Lake City, Utah.
October 6th, 2020.
Okay, so on October 6th of 2020, the chief of the Proud Boys in Salt Lake City, Utah said, quote, I will go out and say the Proud Boys as a whole, I will say this on behalf of the entire national organization, denounce white supremacy. Now, the way I take that is, I would say the grand majority probably do. And look, frankly, I don't see a problem with being proud to be your race. Intrinsically. I don't see a problem.
At the end of the day, right? Like at the end of the day, like that's who decides who you are, right? I mean, in a non-race perspective, right? You can say like I'm a New Mexican, I'm from Massachusetts, right? That just describes where you're from,
That's
right?
from the national origin.
Yeah, no,
True,
but still, like, you can say, like, I'm European, right? Like, I'm very
but once
Italian,
it gets taken
right?
to extremes, and it conflicts with other people, that's when it becomes a problem.
Is it
I know, and I agree with
is it
that.
taken to extremes because that person drew it from a biased point of view, or is it just that person trying to
No,
say, like,
I believe that it takes to an extreme. So, I'm Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you are pretty fucking white. Is that?
I know my place?
Oh my god. So let's say I fully accept, not that I haven't, but like let's say I fully assign myself with my Mexican origin.
Yeah.
Right? And I say, I am proud to be of Mexican origin, but I say that I am better than you because I am of Mexican origin and you are from European or English origin. That is where the problem is created. That, again, the definition of supremacy, that's where that problem is created. I have no problem with a white person saying I'm proud to be white, or a black person saying I'm proud to be white. You should be.
Yeah.
Dude, proud to be what the fuck
at the end of the
you
day,
are.
I mean, if we really want to look at it, just literally look at how Texans look at everything else.
If it's not bigger, it's better. You know,
Like,
it's not
I'm just saying that, like, genuinely, like, if you like looking at this as a very broad point of view, like, genuinely, Texans, my God, are so egotistical, right? Like, my God, like, it doesn't matter the race. Like, if you're a Texan, you're a motherfucking Texan, and so, like, because of that, like, they are stupid fucking backbone behind it. And I love that, right? Because it's like, at the end of the day, we're fucking Americans, right? Like, I talk to somebody British, I'm gonna, without a shadow of doubt in my mind, I'm gonna reference tea. Like, just because of that reason, right? And like, I've talked to, and I've been able to work with a lot of people from, like, other countries and stuff. And because of, like, just the field that I work in with medicine, and because medicine's ever evolving, I'm able to work with other people from Spain. I'm able to work with some people that actually like worked with people that in like Iraq and stuff right now. Because of the field of view that we're in, I'm like able to be like, hey, look, like, this is how I view life. And I'm able to incorporate that in different ways because, like, I've worked with some people that have stupid religious, and I say stupid only in the non like wrong sense. I'm just saying, like, they.
Yeah, no, my mic's here. I'm just saying you're
saying
digging the hole. Like,
Yeah, I'm saying that, like, people with
creating an echo.
like people like with the like a Muslim or like that type of religious intent, they definitely believe in different ways. So, like, whenever I had to teach them stuff like life-saving procedures and stuff like that as, like, just an EMT, like, basic to me, obviously to me, like, to me, basic life-saving things, instead of me saying, like, hey, like, you need to save this guy's life because it's going to kill him, I had to convince him that I was like, hey, look, like, you need to save this guy's life because it's ultimately going to make him not be able to provide for his family, right? It's not going to make him be acceptable to Allah. And for me, in the mindset that I have, I'm not a very religious person, right? If I believe, like, some people say I'm very nihilistic, but I believe myself in a very, how do you say it again? I always fucking fuck it up. Like, existentialism. Like, I believe I'm a very existentialism person because I believe myself as, like, this is where I am right now, and there's no higher being, but we understand from the past that we understand, right? Like, we understand that, like, the Ten Commandments was written from people, right? And
Okay,
I know I'm talking about a lot, but I'm saying,
Give me a second. So,
yeah.
So, we are creeping up at 3 hours right now.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
what I will say is, for those of you watching and those of you listening, this is obviously nowhere close to being over. And honestly, I feel very privileged to not only have one of my best friends be on the podcast, but a new friend be on the podcast. But what I will say is that this will be a first for the podcast, and hopefully not a last, where I will personally be doing a two-parter. So with that being said, if you guys would like to see the second part of this episode, I will have it uploaded as soon as I can to this part, but this will be a part 1. There will be a part 2, more than likely next week. I don't know when this podcast is going to release. I hope mid-January. We will see. However, if you want to see part 2, wait until next week and we release part 2. We're going to go into much deeper subjects, I hope. Obviously, existentialism, nihilism, and obviously religion. If you've been watching the podcast decently, you would know that by now that I am a devout Christian. I'm not the best Christian, but I am aligning myself with that belief. I'm not apologetic about that at all. But what I will say is the next part of this episode will delve into that. So, on the outside,
so if I will, because like obviously like I'm really sad to say this, like I'm very blunt about like what I had to say, but like I genuinely want Piersee or Josiah, whatever, I genuinely want him to be able to be like, hey, look, this is some things, because like obviously we're just about to close this out, but what are some things that you want to compound on?
That I want to.
Yeah, I know, but I want to hear from you.
That's a tough question.
Clearly what I'll say is there's a lot on his mind. My mind, there's a lot in this room right now. It'll be in part 2. What I will say is thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. By now, hopefully, we are on Spotify. So thank you for watching and listening. And we will see you guys next time. Briscoe, Piersee, thank you very much for coming. We're about to start part 2 here in about 20 minutes. We're going to take a little break. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Joey, thank you for being on the computer, fact-checking us, keeping us in shape. Thank you very much. And we'll see you guys next week. Yes. All right, guys. See you next time. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.